Class number 5 of the advanced group on April, are we on April 20th? Yes, April 20th. Everybody is here.
Is it like a bunny?
Do people want little plates? Would that be helpful?
Yeah, that could be helpful.
I'm kind of got a plate.
I'm like, I'm not hungry, but there's a plate of cheese. Dousing for good luck. Remember.
Oh, good. And we'll probably not end up using them, but I'll get rid of these until we need them. If people need glasses for stuff, right here. There's little plates. Here's your cubby thing. There's plates. Are we having a class or are we having a party? What are we doing
Yes.
here?
No.
We almost brought champagne and it was really close.
I was thinking like a little wine would be nice.
Josh was
But-
like, we could bring it. I'm like,
Well, we do have wine here. There was something else I was thinking of. There was something else I needed to get. What was it? Oh, napkins. A few napkins.
Very mellow.
Especially
Very mellow cheese.
yeah.
goopy
This
oranges.
Not that one.
The orange
This one
slices
I
are
think
unbelievably delicious and very, very juicy. Oh, by the way, I have to, I've had this plant, which I've discovered is a corn plant. It's called a corn plant.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not corn, but
Oh.
it's a palm that's called a corn plant for
Okay.
obvious reasons. And they say the indoor potted plants never bloom because, and like about a month ago, I thought, it's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's gonna come Day of the Triffids. It's gonna get me in the middle of the night and it's gonna like replace me with with Imitation Leslie or something. But it's been doing this. Be careful, don't wipe up against it because it's got sap that will not come off. And if you can notice a little bit, it starts blooming around 4 p.m. and it blooms all night.
Wow.
It's the most intense jasmine smell you've ever heard it smell. If you just go by it, you'll notice it. Right now it's lightly scenting the room, but at night it almost gets cloying. It's so sweet. But don't get too close to it.
Okay.
Because
The Triffid plant will
you
eat
will never get the sap out off of your hands or whatever it is. Okay, so this is our last one for this round. And so I'm going to do kind of some of the normal kind of reflecting, looking forward types of exercises. Most of which you're familiar with, but I've come up with a few like, oh, there means this thing that wasn't in there before, blah, blah, blah. So if you remember, I doubt you do, is that what I did the last series was something really, really nice, which is extended heart of business constellations to start out with. Instead of the normal little dyads, we do these all together. Then I just want to go over what we're doing today. Then there's going to be a longish sharing, longer than usual, mostly based on that constellation. Break, our what's next conversation, and then Beth's favorite, the rapport with selves over time stuff, with a couple of tweaks that I've come up with on that. Okay? Sound like a plan?
Sounds good.
You just said rapport with cells over time, and I think I got a nervous system reset.
I'm thinking I'm having an inner battle with myself about whether to make that my presentation proposal for the constellation or not. The rapport with selves over time and alternative selves and alternative timelines.
I love that. It feels very much your seminal, like a real strong reframe.
So I'm arguing myself with that, or how to create constellations for programs for your business. So for family constellation people who, want to do a weight loss program or a relationship program, how to use constellations to create programs for your
That
clients.
sounds awesome, Joe.
That's awesome.
If you don't do it there, will you do it with us?
Well, you have been doing it, Josh. It's called this course. You really want to pay more for a special course on how to do it? You've been like the guinea pig in it.
We're in it but to lift it to the meta level and then apply it to our business. Which I've started doing.
But I mean, for family constellation people who struggle with I've got to get 20 people together in order to do a constellation for somebody. And it has to be an hour and a half. And how do I make any money with that business model? You can't.
Right.
Anyway, so opening ones. My apologies, but I am going to have to separate you from the food a little bit.
Okay.
We're going to do group constellations rather than separating into dyads.
Mhm.
So, to start out with, what is your current big business question, issue, concern, or growing edge? I like growing edge. Like you're going to be kind of moving forward from here, right? What's the next growing edge for you?
How did you phrase the question though?
What is your current big business question, issue, concern, or growing edge? So just take a second by yourself. Just write that down. Think about it and write it down because that's what is going to be the focus for your constellation. These oranges are ridiculous. And when you come up with it, you can celebrate that it's not the same one you wrote down 6 months ago.
I remember.
I'm sure my last one was, how do I start this?
Nice.
Pretty sure.
Oh.
No, pretty sure.
I can't even remember.
I wonder what mine was because this is definitely different.
Cool.
Okay. Everyone got something workable? Yes. I mean, it's all right if you have more than one. We do understand, but you're going to have to choose one for the constellation. Okay. So we're going to start out blind. So that means everyone needs a card. Take 2 cards and write your name on one of them in the heart of, so Joshua's on one and heart of Joshua's business on the other one. Heart of Beth's, heart of Peter's. Okay. And then you turn them upside down and you shuffle them.
So just 2 cards, right?
Just 2 cards. And so I will facilitate probably lightly. Oops, and I bounced into the flowers.
Did you just get zapped on you?
Probably. Whoever wants to go first, blindly give the cards to the other 2 people. And then the other 2 go into the space and start to do the constellation. Beth, maybe you'll just move that one paper bag a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah. And yes, don't have your cards in your hands as Joshua gives them to you.
Oh my
His to you. That would be really confusing.
Actually, would you mind randomizing this for me for just a moment, and then I'll take them back? Thank you. Okay.
I want to give a whole class on what I saw Bert Hellinger do. But one of the things he noticed for almost every constellation, no matter how complex they got, was he started out with two facing each other. Parent and a child.
I'm
husband and
nervous.
wife.
I feel pretty good, actually.
Just a little nervous and a newness, like I don't know, but in a kind of not like I'm running away, but
And I hear that, and I'm not worried about it. I'm like, I feel really solid and comfortable and good to just sort of be here. And it's interesting. It's not that there is a sense of almost like, oh, that one's feeling that way, and it's not quite dismissive, but it's like it'll pass. It's fine. In a way that almost feels kind of a little weird.
Slightly disrespectful.
Yeah, a little bit.
it's funny though when I hear you say that it'll pass. I'm like, oh yeah, it's not a forever thing.
But I'm like, is it okay that I feel that way? Like that I'm kind of like telling you that? Like, I'm not so sure about how I feel with that. But it makes me feel good that that was okay.
No, it shifted something.
Cool. Awesome.
Double self-doubt. Joshua never does that.
No.
Reiterations of self-doubt. I don't know if I should doubt my self-doubt. Should I doubt that I doubt my self-doubt?
I have no idea what.
Well, it's mostly reflecting Peter's role,
No, I
whatever
know.
Peter's representing.
I feel like I'm trying to pick up or like listen to stuff. I'm not sure what it is.
You said that, and my ears started to tune, like listening to see like what's out there.
Yeah, it's almost like that's more important than you.
Hmm.
I know that you're there, but I'm also sort of pulling. I don't know what it is. I'm wondering, or it's listening, or waiting, or
Whatever Beth is representing, do you want to turn a little bit just to?
yeah. Oh, that's nice. Oh, I like that. That's very helpful. Like, okay, I want the lay of the land.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I feel a little better. Yeah,
It's a good question.
clearing some space for noticing you. I like that you're in rapport, like you're like following my lead. It makes me feel like I'm not solo.
Mm-hmm.
That feels better.
Yeah,
No.
it does. And it's not a conscious. It's happening, and I'm not trying to make it happen. It just feels naturally like
Okay.
in rapport with you.
Okay.
Interested in kind of like my focus is mostly with you. I feel like I can look other places, but I'm really interested in you
Okay.
and what's going on. And
I have no idea what's going on.
cool. Okay, and that's good. Like that's totally fine. I'm not entirely sure myself, and that feels all right.
Yeah, actually, I'm okay with that. Now that I had that look at everything, I feel like I need to do more of that, though.
This is what's really nice here is that I'm seeing a lot of like little fallings out of rapport and really quick falling back in. Just little tiny questions.
That's nice.
Was that work? Oh, but it seems to come right back really easily.
Mm.
So let's reveal.
Okay. Dun, ta-da.
Josh,
Scissors.
Okay, now you can stay Josh.
I thought
You
that-
put that card aside
I thought that was Josh.
Yeah, at first I thought it was-
and step out for a second out of the role. You stay in Joshua. And now you're going to come in as next, future, even less distorted version of Joshua's Heartless Business.
Holy crap.
Ooh, that
Oh.
felt really good.
Yeah. I feel like I just had like a massage all over.
I know, yeah, like I'm tickling myself. That's
Yeah.
really good.
Whoa. What just happened?
Hey, buddy.
Whatever it is, it's good.
Yeah,
I feel like I just
That's awesome.
It shifted from being able to manage the experience pretty well and pretty reliably
Mhm.
and resiliently to actually feeling pleasure.
Yeah, it is very pleasurable.
Yeah,
It is like
definitely.
a full-on body, you know. Whoa!
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
very also powerful.
Mhm.
Like the power is pleasurable.
Mhm.
Whereas before I was not at all experiencing any of that. Wow. It's very magnetic. And
I'm like goofy happy.
really? That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel very like vibrating and the rays of a sun, you know,
Mhm.
like the act of broadcasting the feelings or whatever very effortlessly
That makes me feel really good.
without trying. It just is. Just
Yeah.
like it is that way.
I like that.
Yeah. And I don't know why, but the French word rayonnement, which is the act of shining, what the sun does, that is the picture I see. In fact, I see the picture of a sun, kind of like a Renaissance sun drawing with the smiley face of the sun. It's just, it feels very strong.
And you-
The other thing that's coming to mind is F1s are radiators.
I was gonna say it,
Strongly polarized F1s radiate.
Yeah, I'm
It-
definitely polarized.
it feels like you said that, and I got this image almost of like broadcasting,
very
like
much.
yeah, like putting it out there and like
Yeah.
intensifying like the scope and the range
Mhm.
of the message of the work of whatever it is of us, like that
Yeah.
that piece, just like putting it really out there.
Yeah.
Like radio tower, top of the Eiffel Tower.
That's right.
So Joshua, when you write down that last note, I want you to take your place in the constellation just so you can feel it.
I want to take this one home.
Hey, often representing in other people's constellations is resourceful
Yes.
for us.
Absolutely.
That's right.
All right. Thank you for the honor. I'll pass this over to you. Yay!
All right, let's rock and
So-
roll.
For one moment, just breathe 3 times. Don't do anything else.
Hmm.
And just bookmark this.
Hmm.
And when that's completed, I'll just say, okay.
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 Okay, okay, step on out.
Yay!
Yay.
Wow.
Oh, thank you for that, Josh. That was, I feel like I just got high.
And I felt pretty good.
Okay, next round. Who's next? Take all, cards out of your pockets.
Sounds like a good idea.
Take out your IDs.
Oh,
I had someone else's
everything out.
business.
Oh, it was so interesting. Bert Hellinger has a thing about glasses,
We have to take them off, or
along with, like shoes and Bangly jewelry,
anything that identifies.
and
What if you can't see?
to the point where one client, he took her glasses and didn't give them back. And all of a sudden I went, I'm really not being a client now because these were expensive and I'm not fucking letting go of them. I don't care of how that unconscious that makes me be.
Yeah.
Weird thing with the glasses.
Take proportions.
Okay.
It was a very strange week.
It's like I want to be making funny little noises like. It's kind of like.
Sorry, I missed. What is that?
I don't know. I just kind of I'm happy and giddy, and I'm like.
Do you notice Josh?
Yeah.
And what's that like?
I sort of want him to be smilier, actually.
That kind of makes me smile.
Okay.
I have like this movement energy. Like it'd be good to move
We could like
around a lot.
move in circles and
I would be
Feels good,
great.
connected,
I mean, I don't necessarily need to do it, but like that's the feeling.
Cool.
Go ahead and do
Yeah,
it.
I'm curious
Okay.
to see.
Like what would we do?
I think part of me wants to go like.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there we go. I don't know if we're gonna get very far this way,
Yeah,
but it's
that's
kinda
true.
fun.
Well, we could like play with this for a little bit. Oh, I'm getting slightly dizzy.
Well, now
Isn't
it's
this
like
energy a little manic?
a little.
Yeah.
And as we did that, then I wanted to pick a direction and go.
Cool.
So go ahead and do it. I mean, there's only one direction to go in, so you're gonna have to choose that one.
All right.
But don't go too far away.
Let's do this thing.
You wanna do it?
And then I don't know how we do it. That's my feel.
Okay. How about
So come on back.
I have a suggestion.
What is it?
How was that? Did that end up being as good as you thought it would be?
Yeah, except there's a wall.
Yeah, well,
I didn't like being backwards through it. I kind of wanted to like face with you and go that way.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Just more logistical kind of a detail.
like this.
yeah, it's more of a Allemande than a do-si-do, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's the move. This is more of an Allemande in square dancing. In fact, let's see. I'm trying. It's
Oh, this thing?
yeah.
Kind of like that.
Something
Yeah, yeah.
a little bit like
Allemande with your partner. You're facing the same direction. But it means that you can start out with the twirly in the beginning, because Allemande has got twirls just like the do-si-dos do.
Yeah, I feel like we can keep doing that. Yeah, that feels good.
Okay. And then how does it feel now?
kind of did like the traveling movement piece.
Mm-hmm.
This feels okay, but I kind of like my frantic energy says we should move somewhere else. We should like keep. Like I felt more focused when we were moving.
Your wall was
That's a keeper.
your wall was very lovely and interesting, but it was definitely in the way.
What was annoying?
In the way.
Your
The
wall.
wall.
Oh, the wall. Got it.
You say
So walls are annoying.
you say I felt more focused when I kept moving.
Yeah, it's definitely, yeah.
Okay, let's reveal.
Death.
That's business.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so you stay Beth, and you let down that card, step out of the roll, and back in as the next future, even less distorted version of Beth's Heart of Business. Heart of Beth's business.
That's much calmer.
Yeah. I still feel energetic, but like there's still like a desire to move. I feel like I've got a lot of energy. It's almost uncomfortable to be standing here because it feels like there's so much coming through.
I actually feel very comfortable standing, and like I'm in a place of comfortably allowing movement to arise.
And can you say to the heart of your business, don't worry, we're moving.
Don't worry, we're moving.
Does that help at all?
Yeah. The feeling is it's like almost like a warrior tensed and ready to spring kind of a feeling. Like even though I'm standing, like I could just as easily be in a pose ready to move into a form of action. So I think that's that kind of anticipation of movement that I'm feeling. It feels less uncomfortable and more there's almost this like tell me where to go, tell me what to do, or give me a general direction and I can pull out my warrior-like ninja moves.
couple things are happening for me. One is that the sense of that movement came back. It's like, oh, we could do that. But I almost have this sense that this thing that seems still and that movement actually aren't different, and the movement is happening. Like you said, say, don't worry, we're moving. And it's almost like I don't feel a need to act out that walking again because it's happening right now also. And I kind of had this idea, like, I wish I could just touch you and transfer or translate some of this experience to you.
Go ahead and do it.
Almost felt like this. Let's face that way though.
That's better. It's like I still want to like move. I kind of feel like my muscles need to be worked out a little bit. Like my structure, it's been so rigid.
And now, like when I hear that, that feels completely okay. It's like, yeah, do that.
Yeah. Like I feel like that movement needs to happen. And otherwise, I get too tense or too rigid.
Movement needs to happen or I get too tense. Not Beth, the business. Beth's fine. Sorry. Although that reflects something you've only said a million times about yourself and your body.
Yeah, my body.
I walk almost every day now.
Yeah.
My back feels like there's a spot in the middle that's like extra firm. Even though the shoulders are better now and the legs are better, I still got this like.
So can you step out of the role?
Yeah.
Come back in as another next, even more future, even less distorted version of the heart of Beth's business.
Oh, there. This feels much better.
Now I've got this springy movie energy that doesn't feel manic. It just feels excited.
And I don't feel caught up or locked in. I feel free to move and pretty solid, grounded and good.
Mm-hmm.
So the metaphor I'm coming up with is those classic teenage boys who are growing so fast that they hurt. The growing pains, right? They literally, their joints ache. Like in your near future, there's some growing pains for your
Yeah.
business.
I feel it already.
Yeah. And this is like on the other side where the body's now like all the bits are fitting. Yeah. Like finally the kid hits 21 and you're like, oh my God, my body's like stopped. Oh, I can just enjoy being a man now.
That sounds right.
And I also have this sense of like when this one needs that I could just like push on the back and the stuff and like rearrange things a bit. You know what I'm saying? For me, it's a bodywork metaphor, but it's like the version before this, it's like I could like just do a little pushing here and pushing there.
A little bit.
Like, you know, I can just.
Well, actually, no, I was thinking, can you step out again? Go back to the previous one with the growing pains. Come back in. Now put your back to Joshua.
Like I could just like press here and there and just. It's like.
And can you say, dear heart of my business?
Dear heart of my
They're
business.
growing pains.
Say it again.
They're growing pains.
They're growing pains.
It'll be okay.
It'll be okay.
Okay.
But it's almost like like making those little adjustments to the business.
Yeah. So that, it's just an ache rather than I'm in so much pain, I don't know what to do.
Right.
Yeah. And then can you look at the heart of your business and just say, you're growing.
You're growing. Yay.
And you can say, why has it gotta hurt sometimes?
Why's it gotta hurt sometimes?
You go, I don't know.
I don't know. It just does.
Okay.
Can we have the other version come back in?
You want? Okay,
Yeah,
and with that one, okay, step back out.
Then you
Next future one.
next
the-
feature, newer, awesomer.
And then why don't you take your spot, Beth?
Hey,
Hi there.
I know you.
How's it going?
Very good.
So, Beth, can you say the heart of your business? That was a bit of a rough patch.
That was a bit of a rough patch.
That was growth.
That was growth,
Mhm.
It was necessary,
and it was necessary.
but it's nice to be here now.
It's nice to be here now.
Absolutely.
Stronger.
And then the heart of
powerful.
your business, can you say, thank you for helping me through it?
Thank you for helping me through it.
It was a little rough.
It was a little rough.
I'm here for you. We're in this together.
All right.
Business, can you say we're a team?
We are a team.
It's awesome.
Okay.
Oh, that's very
So
nice.
take 3 breaths, just feel that, bookmark it, take it in. God bless these many constellations and their ability to show up these really important little patterns.
Yay!
Right.
Again.
Come back in. Take a quick pause. And then Peter's gonna hand his out. These oranges are just ridiculous. I'm losing my mind. And do start out facing each other just because it seems, I liked that about what Bert Hellinger did. If you're gonna move out of it,
Whoa.
that's fine.
Ah,
But there's something about having to react to another role that seems
something.
very useful.
I just feel a lot of energy here in the throat.
Are you growing gills? Well, to me, it looks like gills.
Yeah, no, I don't know what it is.
You see more Harry Potter grows
almost
gills
wanna,
with
like-
gillyweed.
Hide so
Wanna
that you don't have to deal with me.
Oh, it is a little intense dealing with you.
How about you guys take just a step away from each other?
Ah, yeah, calms it down. But I like your shirt. It's bright and colorful. I think it means good things. I feel like I'm growing roots or learning to grow roots or something. Like it's a new thing.
So have a little bit of that, like,
Yeah.
You can do that. You don't have, guys don't have to stay staring at each
Mhm.
other if that's not in the role.
Okay. I'm like in relationship with you, whatever you do,
okay.
whatever.
Are you shy? Are you overwhelmed? What's the movement
I'm protecting that one.
from?
Me.
And what needs to be, what's going on with you that you're unsafe for the other one?
Okay, maybe I'm also protecting me from that one or something. I thought it was about the reactions that one had at first, but that one's not having those reactions anymore, as far as I can tell. Are you?
No, I feel kind of protective
Okay.
of you.
Oh, good.
Like whatever it is you're going through, I want to help have there be a space to have it happen. I also feel very like I'm mirroring you, matching you, like paying a lot of attention to you now. But also feeling a little like this is really new for me too. Whatever this is.
And let me just try something.
Okay.
See what it's like. Where do I want to go?
Makes me sad. Feels like you're hiding away.
It's not quite right. I mean, this thing. Yeah. That doesn't actually work.
Okay.
It feels like if I could make myself really small and hidden, then I'd be okay.
So what the representation is coming through on is if I could make my small and hidden, I would be okay, but I can't.
Yeah.
So say that.
If I could make myself really small and hidden, I would, but I can't.
I'm too big.
I'm too big.
It feels like one of those boxes where it's like opened and you can't put it all back in.
I think they call that Pandora's.
Yeah. So can you, Josh, can you say, I can't hide anymore?
I can't hide anymore.
Rats.
Rats.
It's true.
I feel it like an injury, but that's something I can still move forward with.
Say that again.
Like, I don't know, I'm rubbing here. It's like, you might injure yourself, get a bruise, get hit, but I can still move forward.
Mm.
So feeling protective, but also wanting to be here
Mhm.
with you, with the world.
It's like on some level I know everything's okay. The K's don't match the knowing.
I hear you. I know what you mean.
So Beth, can you
Yeah.
say to Josh, this is really new?
This is really new. I don't know why the metaphor of the three little bears comes to mind. Just being like in a cabin in the woods by ourselves and like Goldilocks, it's all new. And it could be kind of scary. And we don't know what's going to happen. And it's kind of scary out there. But right here, is it scary? I feel, it's not scary.
It's like everything
there.
else.
Yeah.
So what I'm feeling here is the result of a full commitment, already made, done deal, can't go back. And yet they're still like, did I just fully commit with all these consequences? So there's a part that's a little bit in magical thinking about uncommitting, but it's not, it's too late for that.
I mean, as I hear that, I'm like, I don't even really want to do that. Like, I don't even really want that uncommitting thing to happen.
Okay.
Yeah,
You know?
that's the thing. That's the noticing, that
Okay.
you don't actually want to.
But it's just scary. Yeah.
Those are nice.
The birds?
Mhm.
Yeah. There's some pretty cool things out there.
The one-legged bird might come back. He should be very regular. So let's
Okay.
reveal.
Okay.
Peter.
Of the business. Oh, that's so cool.
You take that out.
Yeah. Oh, right. I get to.
And so step out of that and come in as the next future, even less distorted version of the heart of Peter's business.
That feels much better.
Ah. Wow. Still feels really new, but it feels like I have a gift to give. And that feels like a little kitty. I have this thing.
I feel
That was kind of adorable.
Kind of like Peter.
I feel even bigger now.
Oh, good. That's good. So we can do some good things.
Are you wanting to do that hiding to protect people from your bigness?
Mm-mm.
Oh, good.
How about you guys take a quarter step closer to each other? Because remember you took a step away
Oh, yeah.
before.
I kind of want to do this arm in arm kind of thing. Face the world, face the thing. Or
How about face the sliding glass door?
Ooh, I like that.
Wow, there's a lot out there.
I'm a little nervous, but I think we can handle it.
I don't feel nervous.
Oh, good.
I am curious. It feels like there's a lot of adventure and opportunity out there. And I even have my eye on a destination or a direction to journey in. Like there's something specific catches my attention out there. Not an object, but like a place.
Okay, I've got to step into that.
I'm really excited to hear that. And I'm
So it's me. Sorry.
That's
cool. I just want to know what it is that Peter's going to be going for so strongly.
I
This
like
is
it.
too cramped. This
Lance is gonna attack you.
Okay, that's better. So I have so much joy.
Hmm.
It's like it's got a funny sadness in there, but it's not bad. There's nothing bad about it. It's just like, oh my God, the level of joy. So I don't know if it's a place of joy or if the destination is joy.
Hmm.
But either way, sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
And I have so little attention on the business, not against, not invisible,
Yeah, no,
but it's
good.
just totally on Peter.
I feel like I'm just sort of like a vehicle, but you're the driver.
I almost have a sense of like over here is people I'll work with.
Yeah.
And that's the best I got.
Yeah, there's a little bit of like a pleasant surprise of, oh my God, I'm so glad I met you. Sorry, Peter, I know you just got married, but it's a little sexy. Just a little. But mostly it's just lots and lots of joy. It's just joy. So why don't you step into your role?
Yes, please.
Oh,
I have my little gift for the class. This is a great role, whatever it is. It's so happy.
well. This is big.
So can you say to your business, I want to go there?
I want to go there.
All right, I'm the car. You just we're on our way.
That's great.
So take 3 breaths. I'm going to step out, but it's still there. It's whatever your representative had its attention on there. Bookmark it.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Zippity doodah.
That felt amazing.
I like that all of the roles like felt really good. Like by the time like we kind of got there, that was good.
Okay.
I'm finally experiencing Heart of Business as a reflector of
Yeah.
progress.
Yeah.
For the longest time, it felt like it was the same, and it wasn't very much. And I was like, is this exercise really doing anything? And now I look back and I'm like, oh, it was doing exactly the thing that it does. I just didn't like what it was showing.
Well, and that's the thing, the Heart of Business exercise is not fundamentally meant to change anything. It's not a change, I mean, it's got a change work impact. It's like when you do an outcome frame with somebody, it does change work because you understand your map better. But let me work the mic back. But it really is supposed to create intimacy and relationship. It's really what it's supposed to be about.
My business in the pocket. Oh, that's okay. Sorry.
I'll try not to do that very much. So, time to share for a little bit. I'm gonna give people 5 to 8 minutes instead of the usual, what have we've been doing? 5? 5?
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna let you share in any way that you want. I do encourage you to mostly reflect on what you just noticed, but also hook it up with day-to-day mundane reality. You don't have to be very future-oriented if you're not ready to be. We're gonna return to that later in the gathering. But if you do have some future orientation, like something, that's going on about what you want to create or where you're going or where you're stuck or something. So who would like to go first? I'll time you all.
I can start.
Okay.
So I think the thing that I want to start with is we just had our last weekend of Hollow 2 and we did virtual systems. I thought I missed
I
it.
can't believe you guys hadn't done that
We
yet.
started it actually last weekend and then
Okay.
we finished everything else this weekend.
Virtual filters. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the way they have the virtual system, I mean, they refer to it as virtual systems. And holy shit.
Yeah, that's really good work.
Like, we found it. We found like the virtual filter that I can look at and point to most every really gnarly experience, including ones in my business, and see how it was in service to that filter. And we got a new one up and running, and I'm starting the process of like integrating those. So I'm kind of in between places right now. I already feel like there's a big shift this weekend, and I don't know exactly what it's going to be like on the other side, which is pretty cool. So that that one that's like, don't look at me, I feel troubled or a burden. Very much is like the old filter. Ways in which it's better for me to be the broken or damaged one. And I was really interested to see my business actually is the one who's like growing roots a little bit and feeling more solid. I don't know if I've really quite looked at it like that before. And it is feeling that way. It is feeling like I'm starting to actually get a little bit of traction with my business as far as the way I feel about it. And the question that I brought in was expanding my business to include more clients who pay me and work with me. That was essentially like the next leading edge for me, because I've been working with one person to sort of hone and refine and figure out what exactly I'm doing. And now I feel like I have a good sense of that. I even have a fairly decent sense of who my people are. And I'm now at that point where it's like, okay, it's time to put myself out there and actually start finding them.
How have your homework assignments gone since our last call?
Our call was on Thursday, and then class was Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
So nothing.
Like longer ago than that.
Um,
I'm having him work on some basic nuts and bolts stuff, grand opening letter, setting up his MailChimp, stuff like that.
yeah,
Update website.
and all of that actually does feel slightly scary, but also doable. And this feeling of like, if I can make myself small and hidden, I'd be okay, but I can't, I'm too big. I do feel like that actually. Or I have had the experience of feeling like that. That was amazing to see, like to feel.
Well, and also I don't want you to pathologize that. I actually think that's a good movement to notice I'm too big to hide anymore.
Yeah. That
feels like itself, the present state is itself an advancement on just flat out hiding, right? Oops, this whole like pretending I'm invisible thing doesn't work very well.
Well, and that piece of keeping myself smaller, keeping myself kind of contained, keeping myself unobtrusive or damaged or flawed or whatever it is. And like that started to shift when I quit smoking and for changing my relationship to tobacco and started feeling all the feelings instead of just the ones that I selectively wanted to feel. And then everything that's kind of happened over the last month or so, like it's really getting big. Like the feelings are really shifting. The identity, the vision has been kind of going for a little while now.
The point where someone stops an addictive behavior is a ridiculous milestone. I'm just noticing this with clients. That says like, oh, now everything can change.
Yeah, and I've often looked at that as the thing, like, well, when I finally do that, then things will be different. Like recently, like within the last, like, oh, well, I can't really do anything until I start doing that. Was almost like this sense of part of me was feeling that way.
Yeah.
So my new filter is actually much more about maybe it's actually okay for me to feel pretty good, that it won't doom us all, which is not the exact language, but it's pretty close. And
Is there maybe language in there, it allows us all to thrive rather than it won't doom us all?
No, it won't ruin all our chances.
won't ruin all our chances.
Okay, so it's a midway. It's a midway filter.
Here, new
Because the
filter.
next filter is going to be so that we may all thrive even more.
Ways my wanting to feel okay and really good won't ruin all our chances. How can I notice even the smallest ways I don't mind being happy?
I love that phrasing stuff. It's so awesome.
So that I can feel good being me, I can share that with other people, and I can live my life fully. And the old one was ways it's better for me to be the flawed and damaged one.
Yeah, don't read the whole thing.
Well,
I don't want to reinstall it.
no, I'm not going to reinstall,
Okay.
but this is interesting. How can I live in ways that match how I feel?
Oh, right. Yeah, the damage and the, yeah.
And also I feel confused and I feel pretty good and I feel all these other things, you know, like, so I've been integrating that and like seeing all those pieces and how they show up. I'm not really sure what else to share. Definitely feeling more of a push into the wanting to reach out and wanting to do more with more people. And also being a little nervous about it, you know.
Well, and the other piece, the still cutting edge thing for you is the carving out the time instead of this persistent impression that there's no time for the business.
Yeah, and that's starting to happen a little bit differently. That feeling is a little bit different now. Even in my time in the house, like the regular things don't feel like they don't feel as bad. I'm not sure how to phrase that differently. I woke up with energy and I did some dishes and it was only like 20 minutes instead of 3 hours, which is what it feels like, you know, sometimes like when I like wake up and do dishes and all these things. The feeling is different.
Interesting.
My priorities feel like they're shifting a bit. And I feel more grounded, actually. I feel a little less
Excuse me.
pie in the sky about like this thing that I want to have and a little more grounded and like, oh yeah, this actually could happen. This is happening. I have to make the rest of it happen or, you know, put myself out there to do it, but I probably won't die, actually. It might actually feel okay. I probably will feel okay. It has been feeling great working with people, working with Sam, noticing, giving myself permission to notice what I've been noticing, and to be his coach instead of just his cheerleader. It's like, you're doing such a good job and everything's wonderful. Now I'm like, okay, and here's the game plan. Like, this is what I've seen and him seeing it, and then like we're gonna do an NLP change work piece around this. Like I've got another NLP session scheduled with him, and if it just feels more appropriate. Yeah. So maybe it's okay for me to be an authority in some kind of fashion with him. There we go.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yay.
That is a big change considering where we started from.
Galactic. Galactic level. Okay. Die nächste. Well done. Good creating, Peter.
Hi. I put down for this heart of business thingy that I wanted to focus on trusting the creative process in the business and my big dreams. And I wrote, trust the one who decided, and the one who acts, and the one who achieved. Because there's part of me that doesn't trust the one who decided on the big thing, which specifically right now is Paris. That's one of the big things. And that feels like the biggest thing right now.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it just feels it is the biggest thing. It's
Well,
a
there's
big
part of
thing.
me that knows there's more beyond it, but that's way
Well, yeah.
future that I didn't know it is. So hearing all these things around movement, I liked, it felt more focused when I kept moving. Part of business said that, and there was a desire to move, and then the me saying comfortably allowing movement to arise. I had that experience this morning. I've been going on morning walks, like even before breakfast. But today I only got 15 minutes into my walk and my intuition was like, get to work. So
Interesting.
I went to the diner and I wrote the letter and then I did my fiction. Usually I try and get my fiction in first, but I wrote this draft for writing a one-on-one letter to my clients. Who I think would be interested in the Paris trip that Leslie's been coaching me on. Send it to Leslie. I also posted in my little creative cohort circle that I'm a member of, hey, I'm gonna do this. And then I came back with, hey, I did this 25 minutes later, and I posted them the draft I sent you.
Oh,
Just
good
like,
for you.
Very good, right? You know, they're just like cheerleader types, and it just, but it helps me also, puts a container, like I'm gonna do this. And my experience is like diving. Take a big breath and dive in. So I did that this morning. Movement is happening. The sense of rigidity, I don't quite know what that means, but
I think that was the stuck growing pain stuff.
Okay, the
We-
growing
we
pain, that's
eventually articulated
Right.
it that way, but he said there was this rigid part in the middle of his back.
yeah, you know, it's interesting from a chakra perspective. That's the back of the third chakra, which is about assertion and also backbone and having a spine, having structure. Very interesting. Last week in a different context, someone drew the card movement for me as well. And part of me was like, what do you mean? I am in action. I am moving. And then I thought, well, I could do more. It was just like, I could be more dedicated and more focused, mostly on my physical wellness and my physical movement, which to me is like the grounding of everything. And then then I move to creative work if I can. And those two things are super tied. On most days, if I don't get both my physical fitness and my creative work, I feel somehow off kilter, a little itchy and scratchy about that. As you guys may know, I've been doing intuitive painting. And you show up to the canvas and you're like, purple, this brush, okay. You know, super like in the moment, super nonverbal. It's really good for me. And I'm like, how I want to live my, and then when I sit down to write too, there's a lot of just like, you know, just a channeling, no, not very much second guessing. I've really gotten to a place where I can just let it go, be what it is, and much later evaluate. But when it comes to my business, there's a lot of second guessing and a lot of ideas and a lot of that manic energy of like this, that, oh that, oh that's a good idea. Oh, what about that? And then, but things don't necessarily get grounded,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm working on systems to ground things, but I think I need to get even more conscious about that. Even though I put up this big wall calendar, I'm not still putting all my deadlines on this wall. I'm like, okay, I need to somehow create a more of accountability with that wall because I really am very calendar focused and it's what allows me to do what I do. What allows me to get so much done is I have deadlines and I map things out and I can kind of visualize how long things take. And there's a lot of in my business that is still very intuitive, very flowing, very much like, well, what do I feel like doing today? You know, I have big blocks of time I purposely put aside to dealing with the current whatever is up. But I'm not always dealing with the hardest thing. I might be dealing with the timely thing or, you know, the difference between priority and deadline. So I'm not really, what I'm feeling into is how do I be completely present to the creative flow that is truest to the moment and make room and trust that it's going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Because I have so many wonderful things in process. One thing that I know is very, very important is downtime. So I took the weekend off and I did massive amounts of cleaning yesterday, which felt really good. That's like the clearing is part of being able to make room for the new. You know, it's kind of cliche, but it also energetically, like I'm letting go of a lot of stuff, mostly books. I'm like, this was important to me at some point, but I never read it. Okay, out the door.
So I'm just hanging out in the space with the movement. What was the quotation from the something about the movement that arises, or
More comfortably allowing movement to arise.
There's some stuff I could say about that. So in the beginning, the manic movement, so first framing, in craniosacral therapy, you spend a lot of time learning how to get really still and then follow the movement that's there. And what I'm understanding more and more is that there's a place you reach where the movement and the stillness are not two. They're actually one thing. There's a type of like dynamic stillness out of which the movement arises. And what I felt at the beginning was this sense of movement that had no stillness in it. It had no connection to stillness. It was almost like movement is just movement.
Right.
And then where it got to when the new Heart of Business came in to was that place where they weren't two.
To me, I hear grounding. I hear that the movement is grounded on top of this beautiful root, you know, the trunk of the tree. And that's what I'm looking for. And my father texted me this weekend, one, that I sent him my big fat book of romances. It's my birthday gift to him. He was my motivation for putting it into print. And he was really impressed. I wanted him to see, this is what your daughter does, you know? And then he read that and he's like, woo, you have a hot pen, my dear. Because of romances. And not even
you
explicit.
sharing this with your parents? That's really interesting. That's cool.
They're storytellers. My mother hasn't read it, but. And then the other thing is my father wrote me saying, I don't know where all my things are. Everything's a mess. Just a forewarning, when you get older, you know, it might get really chaotic, you know. I don't know. It was I think it was his version of like, clean up your stuff or whatever. I don't know. But he was being his own roundabout way. And I didn't write him, but I wanted to say, yeah, no, that's what I'm doing today. I'm cleaning my stuff. But it was very interesting. Like I just saw my father's confusion about everything. Like he doesn't even know how to find his own way in his own mind, as much as he meditates and all of that. But I just realized I saw my match. I'm like, oh, that's where I get that intense confusion. And I'm like, okay, but I know how to find the roots.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. More reflection on that. Every time you say I can do more of that, I get the K of the manic thing that doesn't have stillness.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like
Yeah.
the fix from that place.
Right.
When it's, you know, if you're feeling kind of anxious or it's not working, you're trying to hold it together more and more and then more. So, and it's funny. I've talked with you guys about this a little bit, about how I used to live more in the worry place than I do now. And it, you know, sort of dropped out a lot and the externals hadn't changed. I just was doing less worry,
Right.
which makes you realize worry is not highly correlated with external reality. But it arises every once in a while. And it showed up like a week and a half ago for like 2 days. Part of it was writing to Mark about something, which 24 hours I was like, oh God, that was just, oh, could I take back the email? It was just from a worry place. It was completely a worry trance, and it wasn't about anything real and fuck, but no, yeah. So it feels like the fix isn't like more application of something. And there's the one-legged bird. I'm calling him Frank. He's really sweet. But finding that's the change work piece.
The stillness. And the
Finding the stillness or the stillness movement thing, whatever that is.
Yeah. I mean, I lay in bed this morning thinking, I said I was going to jog and run this morning, but I really don't feel like it. And I just sat there and would just lay there for a while until I could feel what it was I really wanted.
Yeah.
you know, and just really waiting for that instead of rushing into something,
Yeah.
which is easy to do when you're lying in bed with the cat right here.
Yeah.
Going, you're not getting out of bed, are you?
Right, and then the change work piece is where you don't have to apply that much effort even to just be present to what's going on.
Right,
It's
right.
just like, oh, I want to get up and jog. That's what I want to do.
Right, right.
Or not today.
Mhm.
And it both feel good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's that point that I get when I'm painting. You're just very much in the moment. And so it's like, I have a K for that. And so it's finding it
Yeah.
in my business.
Well, and you have it, I also want to say you have it a lot in your business. It's just these trances re-arise.
Yeah. And then it's also putting it into different parts of the business. There's some
Yeah,
parts
yeah.
where it's really nicely there. There's other parts where I'm like,
Well, and Paris is generating your safety patterning.
totally.
Yeah. It's a level leap. Okay, Joshua.
You saw Paris.
Mm.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I was saying, you guys have a conversation
Yeah.
you need to have.
It was interesting that the first part of my business was like paying attention to things and feeling a little nervous, but like I was Peter's over there representing me going like, I feel fine. Yep, that's okay. It was like the heart of business would generate these things and like self would respond to them and they would correct. That was interesting to me.
It was evidence of not bad recorrection back to rapport after falling out of rapport in the present state.
Mhm. And I guess I feel like I've been doing that.
That's why I said it partly. I mean, that's what's been doing.
It's like, wow, that really does reflect my recent experience. Interesting. The thing that I wrote is, how can I be more proactive in business and in life? Now that I have this contract, I'm afraid of half-assing it and of always being in last-minute mode like I was in school. So I've been noticing wanting to be more proactive in life in general. And I've been noticing how I'm like procrastinating a lot on the stuff that I need to do.
By the way, does Beth know you got the contract?
I saw you posted
Okay,
it
good.
somewhere on Facebook somewhere. Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Freaking awesome.
And so now the next step, it feels like, or the growing edge is, okay, really like showing up in a proactive, prepared way.
Yeah, give high quality service.
Exactly. Rather than just good enough service. Wow, it feels like there's a little more room for that desire in this space of the virtual system revision, because my old one was ways I'll never be good enough for dad. And the new one is ways that I'm always bringing my best effort and never more than that. And so that creates room for if I do this thing that I was calling half-assing it, but if I wait till the last minute, if I show up and I just do the very best I can for having not done very much prep, like it no longer feels like not good enough for dad. It feels
Right.
like I brought my best effort, as always, and nothing more than that. And so from there, there's more space to reach for. I see room for improvement here, actually. Like I can envision doing it a way that feels actually more comfortable for me, except for whatever part of me is generating this waiting to the last minute experience, and is better for the client too. Like it's an obvious win-win.
Well, and what the DS that showed up here
Mhm.
is that wanting to put out your best effort is pleasurable.
Yeah.
Like,
that's right.
how much fun would that be? Rather than, I'm going to be honorable with my obligations, which isn't a bad thing, but like the DS+1 on that is I like bringing my best effort. I like doing high quality work.
Well, the away from
That feels
piece is that it doesn't feel very good to do it the way I've been doing it. It doesn't feel
Okay.
very good at all.
Yeah.
It just has felt better than doing it differently
to date.
Right. It was the best K on the menu.
Right.
Yeah.
And I really, really liked what showed up there. Just amazing. And you described the sun. Well, in tarot, the sun card is like almost never anything other than like positive, fortunate, celebratory, good omen, good tidings. In the Rider-Waite deck, this sun shows a baby riding into town on this beautiful horse, and the sun's there, and everyone's happy.
Very playful, childlike energy.
Mhm.
I have the Crowley deck, and it's these two children holding hands. Very joyful.
And so in addition to being pleasurable to give your best effort, it is in a sense effortless.
Mhm.
It just like, oh, what else would I do?
Right.
It's kind of even weird to imagine something else. It just comes out this way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Well, it's inevitable. Sorry.
Cool.
Isn't it already here?
Apparently.
Shut up.
Well, it's in the field.
Yes.
And there may be a little time delay. We do understand. We are humans and we like to seem to have things manifest across time.
So that's basically kind of what's gone on for me. And like learning a lot from the experiences I've already had down there, and like it's gonna keep happening, and it's kind of like wows.
Are you also reaching for some new learning experiences to help equip you for this? Just for instance, I sent you that World Cafe
right.
thing.
Um,
Because now you're like, oh my gosh, this is a new playing field.
Right. I haven't quite begun to reach for them, I think, except for like right now I've just been reaching for the resources I already have, like
Yeah.
scheduled a bunch of coaching calls with you. So just so they're there and I don't have to like, that was a bit of proactivity.
Yeah.
And just integrating what I learned from doing the first thing into the next thing will be a step. Just noticing that and applying it. I'm not quite sure what where am I going with this? It feels like a time to mostly be learning on the job, so to speak. And to be like, I've been like pulling out notes from old NLP classes and actually looking at them and actually finding them useful. Posted on my Facebook, like, does anyone else?
You opened frequently.
Like, I almost never have referred to any past notes from any classes ever. This is
No,
this is a new
true.
experience. But the NLP stuff is super useful. Stuff from your class, stuff from Money Magic, like I'm looking like, oh, cool. So in that sense, this feels like an integrative force. So there's that piece of it. I feel like there's something I'm reaching for expressing that I'm not quite finding.
Well, your eyes are finally in the right spot for finding it.
Why have I been accessing here?
You've been accessing down here in your case for the last few minutes, trying to figure out what's next. I was about to say something, but then you moved your eyes on your own accord. So give it a shot. Look there for a little bit and see what is it that you want to share.
Two things. There's more to come because the next thing I have to do is like design a presentation for their agents and like, do this whole thing with them that if they hire me, then I'll be working with them as well. And then there's the piece about like what I'm doing when I'm here now, because if that goes well, then I don't need any work here.
And what I want to be doing is spending time focusing on some projects that could pay off in the long run that have been really hard to focus on when I've been on like this hamster wheel of paying the bills. And I've suddenly this influx of new clients and all this work, and I've been super busy.
NLP clients?
Mostly.
Oh
Cool.
my god.
Yeah, and they're like putting me through the ringer. Like, the 3 most recent clients I had signed up are all anxiety clients.
Oh,
Interesting. Like, they're clustered. Like, okay. And I feel totally unqualified to help them. And so I'm doing my best, but it's like crazy. So I've been spending a lot of time, like, reaching out to talk with people. I talked with Kara Lee and Jen Cody about the LA thing. I had a great Skype with Jade about anxiety. So it's like, but yeah, it feels like I'm like, am I even a quarter step ahead of my clients here?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's the whole enchilada.
Anxiety can be a little scary to work with, to be really fair, if someone's got real anxiety going on, because they're so desperate to have it stop. And if you get good at it, that'll be really precious. And I really think, as I said in my post to your question, I think the constellation piece for anxiety is really critical. I think NLP has some limitations around dealing with what's actually real. I think there's almost always a devotional piece. It's really, really important. So.
Yeah, I've seen my clients just shift just by talking about the ancestors, not even like doing any change work yet.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's one client, she's like, I just feel her whole presence just totally started to shift, and she like stepped into her own place. It's like she remembered she had a place within the family, whereas before it's like she's no place.
I don't know if the structured meaning of anxiety is always the same, but I went through about, NLP triggered about a year-long anxiety disorder for me. It was a nightmare year. It was really, really frightening. I mean, really, I'd go into the kitchen in the morning and I would just fall on the ground into a panic attack every day for about 4 months. It was pretty terrible. But the structure of it that I came to recognize that I don't do anymore at all is like, I'm not in myself. I am not in myself. I'm not in myself. So the feeling of like, I don't know, if you were on a ladder and all of a sudden you realized it was really rickety and you're a little fucked all of a sudden, that's kind of the feeling. And so you're like, there's no grounding. That's the grounding ancestors piece, but it's the not feeling it. I'm curious if I did it with enough people to explore the map, tell me what it's actually like in that experience. How many of them it is a sort of like, I'm not in a body anymore. The cure that I had was it was one of my vacations to Block Island, and I was walking in Point Judith in my cargo shorts and my Tevas and my hoodie and my hat in the rain, and something went, Leslie, hi, you're back. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time. It was like me, like almost a soul retrieval. That the anchor of that place where I've been every summer since I was born was able to bring back in. So anyway, I just give that to you for your clients to the degree that it's at all useful. Some kind of anchor for self.
That's helpful. Well, that actually just reminds me of like all my freak out in NLP, like during like advanced masters, like that feeling of really kind of like, who am I, where am I, like, and freaking out.
Yeah, it could be identity level crises, right? And that's why we don't want to do identity level change too fast. Because the not feeling like yourself is what we call crazy people. Right? Right? So what you looking for?
Oh, yay, thank you.
Is this like the what's her face's bag in Harry Potter
Yeah.
where you can pull out anything?
Dr.
Do
Who
you have a chicken leg in there?
Can I just share this real quick? You'll love this. So when I was in London with Dom, Dom was a BBC channel producer, and there's all these private clubs like Gentlemen High Society or certain guild clubs that they have, and he's a member of one called the Groucho Club, which is the artists club, so media artists and whatnot. So we went in there for a hamburger and a drink and a cocktail in a pretty private place. And as we're sitting there, Matt Smith
Doctor Who.
is macking on Rose from Downton Abbey in the club. Like they're
Oh my
together
God.
and they're snogging on the couch. It was like Doctor Who went back to like 1920s, 1930s.
That's so funny.
I like picked up Rose like that.
You
like,
tempted
with
to pull
Rose.
out your phone.
I so because
You would have made so much money.
because of where we were and the layer of like this is a private club. I
That
was
would have
like,
been completely unethical.
but it was
Yeah.
so fucking awesome.
Oh my
Awesome.
God.
Dangerous.
It was really cool.
There are no such places in America, unfortunately. Who cares how private it is? If the cameraman gets in there, he's taking a shot.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Okay, so let's take a quick break. Chance to do a little partnering. If you want to do some partnering with each other for the next few weeks.
Oh, right.
Oh yeah, I feel like we haven't done partnering the last 2 rounds. At
Oh,
least I
what do we
haven't.
need to do?
Like setting up like partner calls and stuff.
Let's do it. To do
I would like to do that too. Hold on. First, I do need to read my new one because as soon as you said that, I'm like, you know what? I should read my new one.
Yeah. You don't want to reread the old one too often.
Ways my wanting to feel okay and really good won't ruin all our chances. What can I notice?
Lizzie, do you have any ideas for doing Heart of Business work with a group? Because my client in LA is 6 partners.
So that I can live my life fully.
Have you joined my business calls and listened to the ones that I do that are internal?
Yes. That's a great idea.
That's what I would do.
Okay.
But you're really, so if you're going to re-listen to any of those audios, you're going to have to add in more verbiage than I do. Because you're just really going to have to scaffold them doing it. Associating and dissociating.
Yeah.
You may even decide to not do anything that's explicitly about associating into another representative.
Yeah.
It tends to be on, even if they don't know constellations on my call, it tends to be on the general map of the people.
Yeah.
So you just make sure you, I don't know, you make it just like a simple guided meditation or
I also thought about doing chairs because we did.
perceptual positions work really good with those groups. The only thing is that you really, again, this is so important because I've seen people mess this up. You have to really underline the leaving all of yourself there,
Right.
leave him behind there, step into that with no preconceptions about what the experience over there is supposed to be. And you can listen and go, dude, go back because you're not actually getting new information.
Yeah, you're just thinking about it.
Yeah, and you have the ears for that by now.
And I'm getting better at framing it for people who are inclined to think about it. I'll help them not do that.
Shall we schedule partner calls?
Yes, I was kind of.
When should
The
people
moaning
be
hats.
partnering?
Should. Can you give me a yellow, red, a red thing? Sorry.
I'm like yellow, yellow, red, green. Well, what's the rotation you want to do? I mean, usually it's
That's what I'm curious about.
Whatever.
so like Beth, Josh, Peter, Beth. Like
Right, like
Yeah.
it's 2 weeks on, 1 week off kind
Yeah.
of setup. And as you guys know, I'm not continuing. So, but it doesn't matter. Are you dying over
Yes, he's dying.
Dead now.
I know.
Oh, why are you dead?
You can't go on.
Oh. it's mostly financial, but it's also just feels right. You don't question your feels. Well, let's do. Do you want to start next week?
Yeah.
Because this week we have this. and-
Yeah, we can do that. But we don't have another one after this. So, like,
Well, if you guys,
We can.
you guys can do
We
this
could continue.
into the indefinite future.
Right, we can
True.
be our own little. Well,
I mean,
over there,
if you guys are ready, I mean, I know you have your own mastermind, but
I have like 3.
you have three.
Lots. More than-
One is never enough.
No, I mean, I have this critique partner, that critique partner, this spiritual huddle, that COVID circle, the painting. Those are, it's all good. They're all fitting in like pieces of a puzzle.
well,
And I was missing it. Like
we
well,
didn't
you
do
were
it.
away.
Yeah, but like we still like there was like a period of time between that I think we just forgot to schedule for like a couple of sessions. So
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I did one. It's probably been like a couple months.
So why don't you and I just
Wanna do next week?
next week? I forgot to mention the good news.
What's the good news?
My collection, my romance collection, is now out in digital and paperback.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We stayed for the digital,
Congratulations.
and the paperback came out last week. And
The
then
collected romantic works of Beth Barony.
4 and a half of them. And I'm working on more.
Cool, yay!
Yeah, I'm working on one that I think is going to be like a turning point between this series and a new series. They're all connected. I love writing connected stories. So we'll see. It's fun. It's super fun.
Would you like to do Can you do
Yeah.
Monday afternoon?
I'm available next Monday until 4.
Okay.
with
Can
the
we do
lunch
like
break.
3?
I think 3 is good.
Cool. And I'll call you.
Thank you. Peter was. I don't have painting next week.
Gosh, I need to use the bathroom actually.
And then why don't we ground the next one after that? I mean, if there's 3, you know what we could also do?
No,
We could have a conference call or a Google Hangout, the 3 of us.
we could actually.
I
would
am
be
finding
cool.
that's been really fruitful with this other group I meet with. And so
Let me
cool.
use the bathroom first.
Yes, go ahead.
I think Josh is in there,
I thought I heard him flash.
but he hasn't left yet.
I got accepted to speak at a writers' conference this fall.
Cool, where?
Seattle.
Oh, good.
It's right after Paris. And I have to pay for it and pay for my way there. Writers' conferences don't pay. But I really want to go to Seattle.
Congratulations, Seattle will be fun.
I
I
put it-
like Seattle.
I have a brother in Spokane. And I have a cousin in I don't know that well, but in Spokane and Seattle.
Seattle's not that expensive to go to.
No. But
You know who else is there? Carla
Yes.
Camus.
Right. Maybe I could couch surf. Actually, it'd be fun to be with the whole conference thing about her. Anyway,
Don't ask to stay at her place though, you know why?
she has a million cats.
The place smells of cat pee, which is
Right.
pretty gross.
Oh no.
You go to that house and you begin to wonder if Carla's gonna end up as one of those hoarding people.
Those what people?
Hoarding people.
Oh really?
Her house is pretty nuts.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's her bedroom, literally there's only a path to her bed. The rest of it is just covered with paper and boxes and garbage and crap.
Interesting.
Her office is the same thing. It's really weird. And then the place really smells like cat pee.
That's funny because she's talked about her place, like, and how she's like, to someone who has OCD, she's like, you come do that at my place. And then someone was like, just leave him alone for a couple hours. And she's like, it'd take more than a couple hours. And I was like, is she exaggerating? But it sounds like she's not exaggerating. Interesting.
No. She managed to keep her living room and her kitchen and her, mostly her guest bedroom. Okay. And the reason why she can work it is because she has like this office area. It's like a workshop room that's sealed off. The cats can't go over there. Where she can, and the clients can kind of come in through the back.
I always wonder about our NLP teachers with their present states that, yeah, I always sit there and go, I presume that that's what they would like.
Carl and Carla are both pretty crazy people. They're pretty nuts. Michelle's not so nuts. She's just unhappy.
Oh.
You know, she strikes me as a pretty unhappy person. But Carla and Carl are, their personal lives are about as much as I would want anybody's. All four of us are way far ahead of Carl and Carla in their day-to-day functionality.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. That old thing about creativity, genius, and craziness.
Well, it's intense, you know, as a creative. I thought I would go crazy if I embraced writing fiction. And it was just a vague notion and then when I started working on fiction, I did not have the experience of going crazy, but what I noticed is I'm often exploring that edge in my characters.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I'm dealing in the world of magic, and sometimes magic shows up as crazy.
Have you ever heard this? What's the difference between a shaman and a madman? The shaman knows his way home.
That's very
Oh, yeah.
so beautiful too. I've been
Yeah.
on shamanic journeys where, thank God for the drum, you know, as it was your lifeline right back in.
Yeah, nice. Well, and it's also, I mean, it's like having a cultural context, having roots, having a, like, this is how we go crazy. This is the way we do it. Step 1, step 2, step 3, in a sense.
Right.
There's an order to it that's all really culturally bound. So, you know, does this include tea drinking or, you know, building an altar or
Crazy is very
a
much
really intense family meal at the end of it?
as a
Or,
culturally constructed component.
yeah,
If it's not entirely that.
yeah.
It's huge. I wrote a paper on for medical anthropology on how women's hysteria in the 19th century is totally bound to, you know, the prescribed roles of women, and creative women
Oh, yeah.
not allowed to be empowered, and so they were called crazy and hysterics.
And then they would make me masturbate with vibrators.
Thanks, Peter.
But
There you go.
only vibrators. They weren't allowed to masturbate by hand. It wasn't safe or sane. So the vibrator was actually created in like Victorian times.
Oh, it's an interesting story.
That's what I've heard.
They've done some studies on treatment of schizophrenia in indigenous communities. They do have schizophrenia. They do have something that we would call schizophrenia. So it's not, it does have a biological, neurological element, but they have a much better recovery rate in indigenous communities because they're made part of the community.
And also the healing is done in community.
Exactly.
It's not done outside of
The
it.
belonging piece is such a factor in things.
The stigmatizing, separating out stuff.
Did you read the article about the Rat Park studies on addiction?
Yeah, that's a great one.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah, that,
Excluding addicts like we do versus including them.
right. Leads
Well-
is the addictive behavior. It's the root of the addictive behavior. Rats who get to belong with their communities don't end up like pressing the cocaine button forever.
And to
In the way that they talk about,
They
yeah.
keep themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Guys, we'll confirm a date. I was thinking we should all do our own little nurture huddle, the three of us, at the same time, ideally.
We should get a call together, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll follow up later.
can you come up with a date real quick?
Well, how's next Monday at 3:00 for you? If that's what you were gonna
Yeah.
do. What if we got a Google Hangout going on and
Over for me.
we'll just have it? Which-
I can't tell you immediately.
Okay.
I have to check an email, so
Okay, we'll follow up anyway.
Okay. So we're gonna go around in a slightly different way than we did it last time. We're gonna start with one person and everybody else is gonna talk about that person. But not just generally speaking. I want us to avoid kind of nice platitudes. Not that this group goes there, but you know what I like about you is, which is it's always nice, but there's always something a little ungrounded about it. Or are they just coming up with that now because it's their assignment to say something nice? So as we think about that person, I want us to actually think about their constellation. And if we need a little memory boosting on it, because we may not all remember everybody's constellations perfectly well. I want people just to say a few things that they observe and appreciate about that sort of the constellation and what it reflects about that person. Okay. So who would like to be on the receiving end first? Ha.
I think Beth would.
Do you want to counter?
That's fine.
So our reminder is that Beth started out with kind of the manic energy. Was that it?
Yeah.
And then it was the movement arising from the moment. Anything else we should remember about that?
And the business is growing pains.
Right, the growing pain stuff. Yeah.
About the business feeling free to move and how that felt solid and good. And that was like the most advanced version.
So briefly, just say something nice to Beth about what you notice about that constellation in her evolution right now.
What's the purpose of this exercise? Sorry, I missed the headline.
Just to say something nice to each other.
Okay.
Just a little bit of appreciation mirroring.
So I'd like to say something that I appreciate about you in relation to the constellation and outside is the care and attention paid to the needs of the business. On the receiving end of that back massage piece, but through all of the roles as your business, there was a quality of attention and care.
And capableness.
Yeah, I was definitely, as your business, I trusted you and where you wanted us to go. And I also felt like I could act fairly independently if I needed to. You tell me something to do and I go take care of it and do it. So it just felt like a very beautiful relationship. So, and I do feel like I see that with you and the way that you are with your business and this world, just that the commitment and also the interest and it is your child. It's your the thing that you brought into the world that's kind of doing this stuff. So.
It'll be on July 14th of this year. It'll be 9 years that I'm officially in business.
Yay.
Wow.
Nice to meet you.
Wow, cool.
That's pretty amazing.
I appreciated the role of movement and your connection to it and your ability with it. And the way it even connects into things like travel to Paris, the way travel showed up in that constellation. And also getting to experience by representing you the evolution of your relationship to movement was great. But then what I'm noticing in this moment is what was present in both of all throughout, which was the capacity to feel your way through what you want. And it was even in that manic energy, it was I was able to find what I wanted, to feel for it and then go for it and see what it was like and run into the wall and be okay. And the word that comes to mind is leadership, at least internally or with your business. It was I was saying to the heart of the business, all right, let's do it this way. Let's go there. All right. I really like that.
Thank you.
And with great appreciation, the thing I keep saying, quoting Gary Salyer on this over and over and over again, the best personal growth program in the world is having your business. is that you committing to this new growth phase is going to do the change work on you around finding the stillness in the movement. Like, but you might just like associate with Paris you October and notice she's living the dream on the movement and stillness thing.
Mhm.
She's got it
In Paris.
in Paris.
It's where I started my writing career.
Yeah.
The joke.
Yeah.
I got my first piece published
Right.
while I was there.
And she'll be able to look back at the last, 6 months and go, wow, I figured that out in there. That happened. Wow, cool. It's by reaching to new growth levels that our business can change us. If we just like get really comfortable with it being the same level, then we're probably not going to change tons anymore. So.
I really don't fear that ever happening to me. Change is definitely my one constant around here.
Yeah. Which and in a positive way, it's got a shadow side, but your ambition. You
I have a big ambition.
Yeah. And we'll just we'll bow to the shadow side of that and appreciate how it keeps it moving.
Sometimes manically, sometimes into walls.
Well, and again, I think the October one you is like done with that manic version of doing it, more or less. Maybe occasional eruptions just to remember what it's like.
Well, I hope by then that will have been in the past for a while.
Yeah. Nice sleight of mouth there. Well done.
I've been studying some NLP books and reinforcing my
What
knowledge.
did you just say?
I've been studying some NLP
No,
books.
what was the second
By then it would have been
By then it will
over.
have been over for a while. I also taught English to foreigners where you teach, that's called future in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But future past perfect.
That's what I hated about French. Trying to remember that
They do it beautifully.
one.
Okay, who wants to be focused on now?
Peter, I'll go.
Peter.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's a little reminder. First, I'm too big. I need to hide. I'm gonna have too big effect on things, and then
I feel like that right now. Like
and then the desired state, the future bit was, oh, I'm big and that feels good, and then
actually got bigger.
and then the joy destination.
Yeah. All I can remember, Peter, is feeling in that space of being representing the heart of your business is this sense of appreciating you in whatever state you are in. So that sense of having room to grow or change or morph, and that we're connected. That the heart, that your business is now connected to you, and that it is with you, and it is your vehicle. And that felt really lovely, a nice partnership. And very companionable, and that the business, you're creating something that's going to support you to grow wherever you choose.
Thank you.
I don't know how to say this quite. I'm going to do my best to at least point at it. In the end, looking at what Leslie was representing, the sense I had was that it was moving toward. It's not that it was big or small. You know how when people talk about stepping into their bigness and they want to, they don't want to play small. I feel like the thing that I used to talk like that in other ways as well that, you commonly hear. I feel like the thing, at least that I was reaching for, is this thing that feels like most meaningful or most important, not in a self-important way, but in a, like, what is the language? Like, like, this is what God incarnated as me to do. That's huge. And that's what it felt like. And so I almost want to cry, like, felt experience of you getting to that place that I've seen so many people reach for and inhabiting it. And in that place, there was no like, oh, look at how big this is. Oh, look at how important this is. It just was. The difference between asserted and assumed identity, it just was the most perfect thing for you to be doing. So I guess I appreciate that I already see that you find that, and it's about to happen, whatever the time delay is, and I'll get to watch. Yeah. It was beautiful. It felt beautiful.
So I'm going to rewrite your virtual system. Not really, but I'm going to rewrite them. So the old version is ways in which I pretend I am not joy, even though I am. And then ways in which I just give up and let myself be joy. And confess before God Almighty and all His archangels. I have previously sinned in my joyousness. So, I mean, it's the same thing that Josh is saying. It's the right size. It just is. But it's not only what you're reaching for. I think you puzzle people sometimes, Peter, because they cannot comprehend how difficultly you experience your life because it's not what you reflect. Now, there are people who go through life kind of like, whoa. And so everyone goes, oh, she's having a hard time. But when you talk about what a hard time you're having, it's almost like I don't get it. I'm feeling this root joy thing in Peter. And not to dismiss the challenges or the suffering or the struggle. So it's just a lining up of who you are already.
And what's funny is if you had met me like 4 years ago, like when I met Josh and seeing, I don't know what
You would have been doing the
really close.
Yeah.
Like when I was working at that job and I had no fucking clue what was going on. Like my identity's been revising a lot, and it kind of finally feels like this is like the big push into the clearer, less distorted version of me.
Peter's nickname used to be Robot Peter.
Yeah, Robot Peter.
For reals?
Mm.
Yeah, you're gonna change.
It's nice you know people who never knew Robot Peter.
It is actually really nice. It's nice to have the people in my life who are supporting me, who can see me like this, and the people who know the old version, who appreciate the journey and are not trying to hold me and what they used to know me. So.
I just want to underscore the whole joy equals hug equals Peter.
Yeah. Well, and again, the ideal change work is you can't remember it being different, right?
Yeah.
So even someone says Robot Peter, and you're like, I don't. What?
I know that actually
Yeah.
that was like, oh, I remember that. Like it's just
Like it
didn't
was
quite.
another person.
Yeah, it didn't really feel like
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
So you revise the past as well as the present.
Yeah, it's good change work.
Okay. Good. Let us shift our gaze.
Hashawa.
So let's just recap for a second. Once again, okay, now I'm like, I can't be expected to remember 3 whole constellations.
I was in that one.
Yeah.
You were in that one?
Yeah. It was the first one, right? Yeah, because Joshua asked to go first.
And this was all like checking
right.
out here.
We were
Josh
like playing this
nervous.
whole
Josh was
rapport game.
mirroring rapport every time there was a little shift.
Is this just a little?
Yeah. Getting back.
That's right. There was rapport management going on,
Rayonnement.
Yeah, in French.
French.
and then radiation. Yeah.
Radiation of the sun. Rays. That's right. Okay.
And moving from management, a useful, adequate, proud of ourselves management to pleasure.
Yeah.
That's right.
Good pleasure.
Okay, so what would you guys like to say to Joshua? I know what I would like to say. which is that I'm just so proud of you because I think more than anybody here, there's a large part that's rallying for, will you please just give up? Just give the fuck up. This is too hard. And yet you never gave up. You've never given up. You've hung around for the changing of the story, which means that another part must have been pretty sure it was going to change. Yeah, that's pretty admirable. You've been pretty discouraged sometimes, more than I think generally this group has had the level of, or at least not as repeatedly.
I want to say it was definitely reflected in the Josh who was noticing the business on a unconscious level and shifting into rapport and not giving up, that the willingness to try new things and like go around and like be in that place. That's the way I see you kind of all the time when I talk about Josh. I feel like, like, you know, I really wish I could be more like Josh in this willingness to like, I don't really know exactly what I'm doing here, but I'm gonna go for it and try to away and learn. It's the way like I see you. And it may not be your experience, but it's definitely that guy's experience, which is actually now your experience for sure.
What was I'm not seeing the connection between that experience and the other piece you said.
He is, he's moving with the business. The little drops in rapport moving into rapport, little drops of rapport moving into rapport. Like, there's no like, oh fuck, like what did I do? It's like, it's just a movement. That willingness to like, just go here and just go there.
Which must be based on self-rapport or an improved self-rapport. So something cannot go perfectly and yet it's still okay.
So when I see you, that's the way I see you, is like this Josh who is like willing to go in and do whatever, like crazy stuff that my system is like, that's nuts, that's crazy. Like, wow, he's like gonna do this whole brand new thing that like I just scares my system to shit. And he's like, just shut up and like, oh, well, give it a try. And like, you know, and that, man, so happy, so happy being you in there with the revised version of business, and that joy, that peace, that's like, it's my favorite part of you. Like when I experience that with you, is that like happy, like so good feeling, pleasurable Josh. So it's like really nice to see that there. Really, really like really accessible and already there.
Being able to have that dance. So it felt like that the business, the heart of your business is being respected by you. That there's sort of an underlying like,
Nice.
yes, I will be with you even if we're out of rapport. But we can, oh yeah, we can catch that. Oh, oops, oh, but we can come back. Like there was this, I over there felt as the flopping around, and to know that you were there. So it was so. It's almost like every time I fell, you caught me. And then stepping into that role of the next version of, and that feeling that radiating and that magnetism and that just intense pleasure all over was so awesome. And to be able to then just be that on your behalf, just, it feels, behind it, I feel like there's a message there that you're just broadcasting, like you were saying earlier, you know, in the message. There's a sense of whatever it is that you're saying is being said through that amazing radiation of magnetism and message.
I have an impression that you're coming full circle on your meta outcomes. When some aspect of you, when you became a massage practitioner, wanted to give people pleasure. And there is something very sort of centrally oriented about yourself, about how you live your life.
I'm a Taurus.
So feeling that come through on the business, like, yes, we're going to be about making you better realtors and getting more clients. And like feeling more pleasure. You know, it's Jesse, what's his face's Corin's stealth mission.
Yeah.
Right? You would never put that into your marketing with the realtors. But maybe your stealth mission is for people to have more pleasure in their, in whatever it is you do with people. And be able to give them more pleasure than you could in a massage, as pleasurable as that is, right? Because it becomes, teach a man to fish rather than give them a fish.
Sustained.
They can generate their own pleasure after you.
It has the K of being, you have that feeling you sit in the sun, maybe it's been a little cold in the shade, and you sit in the sun and your whole body just warms up and it just feels so cozy and comfortable, and it's this amazing, like, all around feeling.
Very tingly.
Yeah. And for me, it comes right here at the back of the neck when the sun is here. Oh, just relax.
You guys had such good Ks at the end of
It was
this
Yeah.
conversation. It's so funny.
But very central. Yeah.
I've got a really strong vision that screw all the other outcomes for these realtors, that they have more fun and enjoy their work, and they just sometimes it sounds to me like they're not having much fun in their company together. And what does it mean if you leave them like supporting each other and carrying each other and loving their work and their business and the place they go to work every day?
I think it's a pretty radical stance. I'm just, from my perspective, for a man to advocate for that for other people. I just heard
And mostly men in
mostly
this
men.
environment.
And
Yeah.
I heard a guy interviewed today on a podcast this weekend, and he was saying, like, it has to be fun. Whatever you do, it has to be fun. And he's like a multimillionaire, and he is advocating that behind everything he does.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, that's so nice. I like this guy.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a radical stance also to take. And that feels very much like your message.
Yeah.
The
I mean,
pleasure.
I imagine they reached out to you because they're like, this is not feeling good to come here. I wonder if Josh can help us out with that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love that stealth work.
Stealth mission.
Stealth, I have a stealth mission in my work that I don't advertise, but it's there in my stance and in my visuals.
You want to tell us very briefly?
It's a secret now. Well, it's about fun.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm overt, but other times, and it's also about intuition. Really trusting. Because a lot of people are very, this is how you're supposed to do it. I get a lot of questions. What's the best way? How am I supposed to?
Yeah.
Fun.
That sounds really familiar. I resonate with that.
Mine is self-rapport, probably. Something in that line for people to have more self-rapport.
Yeah.
Alignment with self. Okay.
Great.
So now I want to get a little more crunchy granola.
Even more.
More so.
Um,
Let's share our feelings, and then we're gonna get crunchy granola.
So I don't want us, I don't want to hand out, evaluation forms. I want us to do this openly together. Okay. So, once again, and now I'm not going to imagine you're going to be able to distinguish very strongly between these 4 months and the previous 4 months that we had. So it may be just one kind of mushy thing.
I think I can.
Maybe he can. So what's the best aspects for you in the program? You can either name it as, Leslie, I'm really glad you did this, or I did this good thing for myself using this tool, or something like that, in any way that you want to name it. But let's just get up a few of these.
To me, these meetings feel like, this is weird. It's like, because metaphor is like train stops, train stations. And because I have the experience of stopping at the train station, I know I'm on a train. And it's moving from point A to point B to point C.
That's a good way to put it.
And if I wasn't doing that, I could easily have the experience of wandering in circles in the wilderness.
Yeah.
My version of that is something like these things make it possible to recognize the progress that I've made.
Regular reflection.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, if we were to, for where some of you guys were last time, I mean, if you really kind of squinted a little hard, you could see your progress.
Mhm.
But when we ended the last program, particularly Josh and Peter were
Yeah.
still kind of in the midst of their transitions,
Yeah.
rather than clearly, obviously making progress in
Yeah.
some ways. So it's just interesting that you might have answered that question a little bit differently.
Well, that was like, it feels like when we first started, it was like incubation. The tools and resources necessary to get really clear so that this business could actually be born. Like the embryo was there, but it hadn't taken any form. And that's the difference between showing up with a fully formed business and coming with like, I know this is the next thing, I just don't know exactly what it
Yeah.
looks like.
Which is why, I mean, why I think for me, this kind of process is better, whether it's the beginning 4-month group, which again, I'm customizing to them and where they're at, or this more advanced group, as opposed to something like Thrive, where, you know, in 2 very intense weekends over a couple of months, you get 19 million resources
Yeah.
without a lot of capacity to discern between which ones and how to let them incubate.
Yeah.
There are the few that you acted on immediately, but then, yeah, there's a lot which is just about, yeah.
Well, of course, the change work piece, the actual like, not just the nuts and bolts, but the ecology shifts, the capacity changes, all of that.
Yeah.
So I mean that makes the difference. That makes
Yeah.
the difference for me, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the heart of business and just developing
great one,
rapport and bringing, but,
I'm laughing.
and having, figuring out my way to integrate that into my life.
Yeah.
Learning you can communicate with your business,
I know,
like
huge.
big reframe for, but you know, some people.
It was so sweet. The beginning group, we started about 3 weeks ago, and we did the first round of it, and they all sat down and they went, one person went, I think I already got my money's worth. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
it is such a change of
Yeah.
way of being with your business.
No, I'd have to say something we've done around money, I had some aha, I don't know.
The very last one, we did a money thing. Oh,
I had
no.
this ancestor clarity, I was out on the porch, a few
Yeah.
weeks ago. So having the opportunity to look at that in a constellation ancestor was so useful. That whole,
Yeah.
reframing and connecting kind of the dots. Because I felt kind of a fish out of water in my relationship with money. And then, the one we did most recently, that too was a big, I'm still adjusting to that. But
So change work, just, I'm just gonna chunk that up just a little bit, doing it on specific topics.
very much.
Yeah.
You know, mother
Oh,
ones,
yeah.
father ones, money ones,
All of that.
self-judgment ones, all the different topics.
I mean, the one-on-one calls are like phenomenal. I love having those.
Yeah, super helpful.
I'm sad we only get 5, and I totally understand why. And I'm like, well, at least we get 5.
The next round
Oh, the
has only
next round,
5.
right.
Yeah. Well, it was your fault, Peter.
Was it? Why? Because I scheduled all of mine?
No, because you said, Leslie, I think you're being a little over generous on the 8th. And I had already begun to feel that way about it a little bit. And I needed some way to keep the price the same.
Right.
So, and the fact is that for some people who will go nameless, getting all 8 of those in has been really, really difficult. So that kind of that gives me some pointers about how much is integratable.
Well, and
in
it
some
does
way.
actually make more sense because sometimes I'm like, well, I guess I'll just have to talk to you the same week that I see you.
Right.
Because that's just the way that it works out
Yeah,
with your
for
calendar
schedule,
and my
yeah.
calendar.
Yeah.
That's makes more sense.
Yeah. I have to say, with the beginner group right now, I've had some, like, I don't know what's happening with that beginner group. I almost wish I could have you come in as TAs. This group is shifting so fast.
Mhm.
They are just so on it. The stuff we're uncovering. I mean, it's only 3 weeks now, and I've
Did you
done
have the
huge change work
The
for
group
them.
before, wasn't it a little bit like a little questionable?
It was actually 6. Yeah, the one before. Yeah, they were rough. Husband have seen some difficult clients. God bless them. They just came in terrified, 2 or 3 of them, and that makes the whole herd scared.
Sure.
So, the dealing with their ecology, they couldn't self-regulate very well.
I have to say, I also appreciate, Leslie, how well you've gotten to know us quite well.
Yeah.
And in this format, I feel like there's room to get really tailored hellos in the
Yeah.
small group,
Mm-hmm.
as well as the one-on-ones. But there's something about the longevity, that
Yeah.
you've gotten to see all these different stages.
Yeah.
I kind of can't believe we're like, so we are third advanced?
Is this finishing?
Second advanced,
But
the
Second
third group.
advanced, third cycle, yeah.
Is it? So we had the beginner.
And then last fall, and then this spring.
The next one will be the 4th.
No, the next one.
4th group, 3rd advanced.
Yeah. Which is kind of incredible, really.
And we're adding in a few people.
Yeah, Anna Maria and who's the other one?
Stephanie, who will be on the computer.
Stephanie, yeah, that's
Second
right.
tramp?
Yeah.
Oh.
I haven't seen her in a while.
And 1 or 2 who will need to take a cycle off, but may come back for a future cycle. What else? What else was?
We didn't really do much content pieces.
We did
Or
fewer. Every
Yeah.
once in a while, I would do like a refrain. Like I did some talks on the generosity stance,
Right.
but less group nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
Some nuts and bolts in your calls, depending if you needed them.
One that felt appropriate for kind of where we were at. Although I would say that for people who are coming into the advanced group for the first time,
Right.
there's going to be like some refresher.
Maybe.
But,
We'll see. I mean, you guys are now kicking up a certain level where you might need to revisit the planning nuts and bolts again.
Yeah.
And they may need that. So we might do something on planning.
That's right, we did have a session around marketing planning, or was it just planning?
It was just planning, not in this one. I think it was in the first
Oh, in the
advanced
first-
group, I
That was really
think.
useful.
that feels so long ago.
Also the encouragement and the reminding about having the one-on-ones with the
partner.
buddies. I think
Yeah.
that is really good.
Yeah, I really need to be better about encouraging that. I can't hold hands on that, but I really do need to make sure every break I remind people to partner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had.
Because it does slip off people's
It does.
radars. It just does. Anyone remember some specific moments? I mean, and now it's all a mush. But a moment or
I just
2.
Add one more thing, which is there's a bit of belonging here, and
Yeah.
like having the Facebook group or like having this group to share stuff as it was happening.
Yeah.
Felt really good.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
victory support too. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah, it does feel like we're working in community instead of working in little isolated islands on our own.
Well, and that's the other thing I've said before in the first round of the advanced group is that there's enough established rapport here that I can make mistakes or make challenges and it doesn't impact the rapport terribly. recovery is pretty easy. Whereas like with that last group that I had to like be on the rapport all the time, really, really intensely. So there's a trust around, we're of like kind. We're not going to harm each other.
Well, I said this the last time we did one of these, and I'll say it this time too. You're using yourself and your experience with your business as part of the model of like, look, I'm using the tools, and this is what's going on for me. There's like a relatability connection piece. You're still in your weight as the coach, but you're not like the leader guru who, the authenticity.
Yeah.
is there.
Well, and also saying, here's why you should plan because I haven't been doing it and it's screwing me. Or whatever the thing is.
The honesty.
Yeah.
I can show up here as myself, as fucked up as I feel or don't feel, as like, I actually don't know what I'm doing with my business at all. I'm like, good, breakthrough. Okay, now we can work.
I'm just going to call that no shaming,
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of like,
no judgment.
I'm sorry I've wasted your time these last year. I don't know what I'm doing.
It is so funny with the beginner group to get them used to me not getting upset with them about not doing their homework. They're like, I almost don't want to make the appointment because I feel so bad about disappointing you. And I'm like, okay, we need to have this talk. Literally, people get themselves really tied up in knots about not having done the homework.
Wow.
I can, as a member of the Church of Guilt and Shame, I can understand.
Yeah. What else? Anything else?
Were you asking if we remembered specific
Yeah.
moments of like ahas or?
Just especially like that was an A++ moment kind of thing. I mean, you were talking about the money
Yeah.
constellations
That
were.
money chair work was
Yeah.
good.
Got it.
The
Oh, and also we did the CHP last time. That was fun. The creation handling
that's
procedure.
what I was gonna say, that one.
That was
Yeah,
good.
actually.
That was weird.
Get
I don't remember it. I don't know.
outside
The
the
thing-
creation.
Oh,
right,
yeah.
right, right.
I don't
yeah.
remember
that's right.
anything about the last one, the money or any of that stuff. I'm hoping it landed well.
Creation handling, you mean the discretion?
Right, right. Get outside the
I
creation,
have
all
been-
that stuff.
Using that with more clients, it's great.
Isn't it awesome?
But what I thought you meant was the constellation where we did 2 different models of God, I think it was. And one of them we stayed in contact with Source.
Being
As we were-
creations versus being extensions of source.
Yeah,
That was a throw-in at the last minute. I didn't even plan
Was that
that.
last
I
time?
might not have been there.
No, everyone was here.
I'm
Where
so
was I?
glad that we did
I'm
that.
pretty sure I wasn't sick for that one.
It was the one where
We're all
I just
over
model
there.
it for a second. If I'm source, I'll just
Oh,
and I
Yes.
just send you out in your creation.
Yeah.
As opposed to staying connected and
Yes,
being an
I
extension
remember
of
all
source.
that, yeah. Being on the chairs and all that.
That's a Carl pattern, by the way. That's straight from a Sea
We-
Ranch.
We actually like got some of that individuation versus separation.
Right.
Being individuated, you're still connected as an extension of versus
Right.
separate.
Well, and it's also the organismic right to be separate and still belong.
Yeah.
Right, that basic stuff.
I just remember I used the hallway a lot.
Yes,
in
you
my
have
life.
lately. Yeah.
And I just remember doing something related to my different writing projects and doing some constellation like resourcing or something. We do like bringing resources. It was like so funny
I'm vaguely remembering it, but I'm just not remembering the context anymore.
either. But what I really appreciated being able to touch base with those projects as separate entities and then bring resources to them. And
Mhm.
I don't know, it was like this really interesting pattern of rapport, all the parts of me, all these different parts.
Nice. Yeah.
I just remember it feeling like instead of acting like they're disjointed, well, they're all just parts of the whole.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
This was from a previous group, but when we stood across from our clients and
And
brought in
separate one, yeah.
resources
Oh,
for
that was
each,
so
That's a standard now.
That is so wonderful.
that created a frame for me that I use continuously.
Yeah.
And also,
And we will once again nod to William Mannell, who I learned that from at the 2011 Constellation Conference. I've amended a little bit, but it was in his supervision workshop, in which, so supervision is about, reporting in about how your practitioner experience is going with clients, and he brought in the support pieces. So I basically got that from Dale.
I will be on a consult call, and I'll just reach for something on my desk and bring it in as the resource that would be most helpful for us right now. And keep going.
Oh, the wildcard resource, love it. Awesome.
Yeah, wildcard resource is very helpful.
Because we brought one in at the end in that exercise.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah, the resource we know not how to name.
I sometimes use it as like a little meditative tool for a client I know is going to be a little bit challenging. And I can imagine the resources behind me. I imagine the resources behind her.
Yeah.
Just calm the system down
Yeah.
long before the call starts.
Nice. Well, and another thing that you guys may or may not be aware of, it will work with Anna Maria and Stephanie as well, because of course they've had the training and they're pretty good now. But your ability to self-facilitate has gotten so good that I can kind of tee up a pattern and trust that you guys will get, I might help out or show up or step into something if you need an extra representative. But your guys' ability to kind of self-facilitate and make your way through an obstacle and find a resource and a resolution has gotten pretty spectacular. It really makes it happen so fast.
I will say I have been using actually some more of these, let's put some things on some cards and step on them on the floor with Sam. And I just got really excited at the prospect of doing that with other people. It's just kind of fun to get people that I'm working with who are exposing people to constellations for the first time and developing that function of being able to oh, this thing is really cool that I do with you now. To have people that I'm doing that with, they're self-facilitating, that's really exciting.
It is nice. And at this point, the K, if any of you have been around new facilitators or people who are trying to do it because they've only seen it happen, and the errors they make, the well-intentioned sort of PC errors, have the parent apologize to the child, those kinds of things. The difference between that and really feeling the K of an actual resolution for the system that actually goes, does something like that, that's an amazing skill that you all have down. It's really, really a nice skill.
I've been doing a lot of triangle movements with my clients. I don't know why the triangle is just, because it's so easy, plus it has the third. And every single time I do it with them, everyone is always blown away.
Triangle movements.
Well, just, something to represent you, something to represent the future version of you who's finished this book. And what shall we have as that third version? Sometimes it shows up as the editor, sometimes it shows up as the critic mind, which is some version of that, or the past version of that.
Yeah.
So I let them also start to figure out who belongs in that triangle. And then we have them all, we talk and have them move. And some of them actually say they've gotten up and stood in the 3 points.
A classic, just, sort of going, classic organizational, I think I mentioned this before, is a representation for the problem. And I'm not going to remember this personally. The obstacle. The desired outcome. The solution or the resource. Yeah. You can just do constellations like this.
Yeah.
And you can keep adding, resource 1 and 2 or whatever.
What's the difference between the problem and the obstacle?
The problem is I have, I'm smoking. My outcome is that I would prefer not to smoke.
Right.
The obstacle for moving from here to here.
Yep.
This is kind of conventional language. You and I might say ecology,
Right.
the IPO. But people in conventional organizational systems, and the nice thing is that you don't need to think about what the obstacle is, right? You just put in a representation that says the obstacle. the solution. There's one or two things you could add in if you got creative. There's always a potential joker, things like that. But
This is so funny because just today on my group coaching call that I came here early to do, it was all about plot and story structure.
yeah, I knew I heard you talking about that in my bedroom.
Exactly. And so what I
Yeah.
often do is because I work with writers, is I have them think about the story and then I reframe it right on top of them, because that's my forte as a coach, is take the story structure and the hero's journey and all that and help them
Right.
create these resources within themselves.
I love
We don't
that.
talk about story very much.
Yeah.
I mean, unless I'm editing their book.
I
but
love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just spend a little bit of time on improvements. Reprogram. What could be better, or what did you outright not like? Or, this is in the territory of what could be better.
I have experienced, not as much this time, but more in the last time and parts of this time, information overload.
Okay.
A couple of times, and that may just be me, feeling like the amount of stuff that we packed in was a lot, and I could have used a break. Maybe really.
Okay.
So it's not just the info; it's I think the amount of information over the period of time without a break.
Yeah. The rhythm wasn't right somehow. Yeah.
Was there the same amount of meetings this cycle as there was last?
Yeah.
For some reason, I feel like I've missed something. And maybe it's just I'm a little out of phase because of my own hermiting needs. And
I think we had one period when it was 4 weeks rather than 3 because of people's schedules. But I think that was also true of the first one.
Okay.
But yeah, we've basically been every 3 weeks.
Okay. The one thing, and I know you're working on this, is your scheduler tool doesn't automatically add a calendar appointment to my Google Calendar. So I have to manually add appointments. It's not, so
Yeah.
that was a little bit ungrounding for me. I had to really be like,
Okay.
sort of, but I
Good
know
to
you're
know.
working on it.
Yeah, God, the schedulers, there's pros and cons to every single one.
Yeah.
If I could design the perfect scheduler.
Yeah.
Peter and I have been
Are
talking
you-
about designing the perfect scheduler.
Are you friends with Michael?
McIntyre?
Yeah.
Not friends. I mean, I was his TA for a year.
Yeah. I just wasn't sure if you guys had talked like outside of that.
Not really.
He's looking at developing a scheduler, like programming wise, and I was talking with him about it at the same time you and I were sort of talking about it. So just interesting. It'd be great if someone we knew could design a scheduler.
Right.
Josh wanted to do a massage scheduler like years ago.
I did. I was looking into actually developing one as a business, and then I changed up and went in a different direction. It's non-trivial.
It is
No,
not
it's
trivial.
Yeah.
Super important.
Yeah, no, and
in
whatever
terms of
gap,
the endeavor, the effort it takes.
whatever gap you decide to tolerate is always a difficult gap
Yeah.
in the scheduler's capacities.
You almost need like a bespoke scheduling.
Right now, I'm having a meeting later today with Schedule once again to look back and see if it might be a little bit better for me. But anyway, what else?
I would love to have a little more structure around developing the one-on-ones. I mean, now
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
gonna move into something else, but I think it's
Yeah.
as our guide to be a little more like, here's the how-to on that, guys.
Or
Now
even
it's the
setting
bulletin
aside like
report,
5
or
minutes just to make it part of the program.
maybe
Yeah.
Yeah.
somehow. Because it is such a wonderful benefit of being in
Yeah.
group together.
I still feel resistance to partnering, so I can't say that.
Great call. What are you talking about?
I know. I
Yeah.
look at this thing like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
2 out of 3 say more structured partnering. No, that's statistically true. 3 or 4 out of 5 will really, really value it, and 1 or 2 will just go, it's a bit of a time suck.
But every time you get on the phone, every time we
That's the thing. I feel like getting on the phone, like I appreciate it when we do it. And sometimes the leading up to doing it can feel a little draggy.
But if it's just like something we do and it's on my phone, and then like I look at my day and I have a call, I don't dread it. It's like it's already on there. It's already scheduled.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah. It's one of the things that I lose attention on. I just do. I've noticed that.
I guess one thing, like I know we've done some content pieces here, but part of me, it's like because of the way I handle my notes, I don't remember what they are. I don't know if you give us, I don't think you give us handouts or anything, right?
Not much this time
And
around.
maybe, I mean, that's an added
Handouts.
piece for you, but it's
Right.
also kind of like, oh, then I could have everything in a folder and I
Right,
could
right.
easily.
So maybe just a brief outline of the content of each
Yeah.
class, because that would be easy
That's-
too.
Right, and then people
Um,
have that as a separate piece they can refer to.
Considering how detailed your notes are there, probably just have to cut and paste, and we get the content almost.
Yeah, I mean, is this what you would like or less?
This is a little too detailed
Yeah.
for me, but
I actually would like this.
Okay.
Right.
Well, like it's a new one. But yeah. I mean, I don't need the time structures. But yeah, the questions are great. Everything about the time, I think.
Well,
Yeah.
and
I
you
even
can,
like the
you can
time.
deal with seeing the time.
Yeah, I think this is awesome, especially I think then it reduces some of the stress as a student to take notes. and
Right,
you
right,
just
right,
go,
right,
"Oh, yeah,
right.
She's got it. Okay, now we can be full on.
Well, and what's written
Scribble on
versus what's said for me, if I hear it, it doesn't land near. Like I spend too much energy trying to listen for what
Yeah.
I'm supposed to write. I usually, if it's on the board, it goes in my notes.
Yeah.
But if there's a handout that has it, that's even better. And I
Yeah,
did
yeah.
appreciate that in the first class.
Right.
Getting the handouts.
Right, and there's so much more of the nuts and bolts in the first class.
Yeah.
And when we get to be doing more and more change work, there's nothing for me to be doing here other than describing an exercise. Maybe you're showing, you put the X here and put the card there. Yeah, this would be kind of the best way to
This would
give
be
you
great.
something.
Yeah.
Well, so what this is making me think of is, especially since this has become an ongoing thing for us, like not something that we just did once. I remember in the early days when there were more handouts, I had a hard time keeping track of them. And
Yeah.
keeping them together and
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And like looking back on it, I wish that I had like whatever you call this program, a binder with that
Right,
on it,
right.
and like all the things.
All I need is a
and
ring, like a 3-ring
A
binder.
3-ring binder, just like Money Magic does.
Right,
I created
right.
one actually for the room.
Yeah, I have a
version of this.
folder. I just have.
And I write down all the change work exercises because they're like tools that I can use again.
Right.
And same thing with Money Magic. And I wish Money Magic had the exercises
Yeah.
already in the manual.
Yeah, I
Um,
signed up for One Money Magic for no personal change work, just to write down all of the exercises. I have one book where I have detailed descriptions of all the exercises. Yeah, no, I am thinking that the next round of beginner, maybe I'll even start it with this round somewhere in the middle, is to hand out a binder with the basic information.
Yeah.
And then as people move into the advanced, they can keep the same binder and
Yeah.
just add their notes
Yeah.
as well as, these, if they like doing that.
And I'm thinking about things like that binder could easily have like a form in it that like everyone fills out their partner schedule on. So then it's like in the
Wow,
binder.
that's so
Wow.
easy. Yeah.
The link to your scheduler, you could have like one of those shortened links and it's there.
Well, and everybody could print out the client agreement and put it in their binders.
Yes.
Because that's where all that
Good idea.
information is.
What
That's a good point.
what about like a goal sheet they can fill out, and then later on you're like, okay, go back to the goal sheet from week 1. And
Yeah, I don't want to do too much of that because
Okay.
number one, I do find there's a certain amount of filling out of forms that people don't go back to. It's just kind of, and this, these advanced groups, even the beginner groups, are custom designed
Right.
Sure.
for what the groups need. So there is no, every beginner group gets a discussion of the funnel.
Mm.
They just need to hear that, or about niching. They just need to hear those things. Or my reframes on business and marketing. But there's also always new stuff. But having the binder there for whatever I do hand out. And there's also, I want to provide more structure for the pieces that are important and also have a certain amount of, I'm not going to pester you about getting your appointments made. I really
And you didn't. I don't feel like.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't. I mean, I
No,
just made
no, you're Mr. Responsible on the friggin' appointments.
I don't want.
But there's a certain amount, there's a balance between scaffolding so much and wanting to people to say, you know what? Make use of this, show up and make use of it. So, but I like this. I like this idea. So, I will play with the whole binder thing.
Yay.
Binders full of women.
Oh God. What was that from?
You've never heard that?
I have, but I'm trying to remember which one.
It was Mitt Romney in a speech in response to something or other where, you know, our team, we have binders full of women. And it set up an immediate hashtag binders full of women. That it was terrible.
I do want to say that because so much change work is happening through this work with you,
Yeah,
that we kind of need reminders because it's a new person who
Yeah.
shows up,
yeah,
new person every time.
yeah.
So I know it's kind of a pain for you,
Yeah.
but just as part of your own structure
Yeah.
as the guide, because I know that with all the shifts going on, it's like, wait, what am I? And it helps ground
Yeah.
us to remind us of the ongoing
Yeah.
ways that we can, especially for newbies, maybe like learning how to develop support in their own business.
Yeah.
It's part of what we get to practice here.
I can install some pretty neurotic programming around scheduling because that's what I've got. Like working. It's pervasive and it lasts through all of my identity revisions.
That's cool. I was pretty good up until
Like
this year.
I've yet to model
Peter's
that one.
neurosis.
I mean, I've had a schedule tool in my business for like 6 years. I hate having to go back and forth on emails, so I've always tried to find new ways, and I'm still like tweaking.
The other thing that I could, so if there's a partnering handout that people can use, some kind of handout where to sort of, so I don't have to be like 2 months in and you've only used one session. I need to remind so-and-so, but not so-and-so because that drives me nuts.
No, just sort of.
But if I had one
flash
handout where I said, you know, in a perfect world, you do these every 3 weeks, and here's your 4 months broken up into 3 weeks session. So here you go.
That's super useful.
Um,
And then you could just, I mean, if you wanted to, you could say something in the group. You
Yeah,
don't need to
just,
chase
yeah.
people. Nah.
Oh, well, and I do.
Oh, you
Every
do
single
60?
group, I forgot to do it in this group some, but the beginner group gets an announcement every time. Remember to make your appointments. Okay, so, anything else? Because I do want to shift into the rapport with selves over time exercise before we go.
More delicious cheeses.
Well, you have more than you know what to do with right now.
Save some for the next class.
More snacks.
I think that's good. I forgot to add one of the things I really
Please.
appreciated is, I think you did it for both the advanced programs. You asked us what we wanted. And then
Oh, no.
I saw how, I mean, especially at the beginning, we really tailored
Thank you.
the first few cycles, right?
Well, and actually, it was all the way, I was
Okay.
still crossing off. I was like, oh,
However
there's
you're-
1 or 2 left here. Could I fit them in today? And I went, no. But up to last time, the generosity stance stuff, the criticism judgment stuff.
And I really appreciated
Yeah.
that. It felt very much like, I don't know, I was being seen and heard. Oh, you guys. I'm
Yeah,
pretty-
The way this has all been tailored has been great.
Amazing.
Yeah, very, very. I constantly ask my people what they want. Sometimes like, I don't know, whatever you got. And I'm like, all right. You know, and then they always are
Good.
My
happy.
clients right now.
You know, it's okay.
Okay.
They don't know. I just want it all.
So briefly, before we move into the constellation work, any impressions? So the next group is theoretically, Josh is asking me to change some dates, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to accommodate him.
Okay.
But mid-late May, third week of May, basically. So about a month from now.
I saw the ones you put out there recently, and I can make all of those work.
Okay.
For the July
So,
one's not ideal, but-
Beth, do you want to share where you're kind of at with this
Oh,
right now, so that these guys know?
It's a very kind of nonverbal feeling. Like I'm trying to actually. The reason I'm not continuing, I mean, the logical mind says it's about money because I'm actually in sort of a slow period. So, but I know I can always make things work if I wanted to. But there's just an energetic shift towards something else.
Mhm.
I'm actually not. I am staying with the Right Brain Business Band cohort circle, but I've also dropped my involvement down to the basic level. I'm not doing their work because I'm focusing on this intuitive painting piece, and I'm going to work with Chris Seidel. I don't know where it's going, but it's again this whole sort of this intuitive shifting, and I'll miss you guys.
Miss
But
you too.
I just feel like I'm taking the road is going that way, and I had to
And
follow it.
as you say that, I get the K and I can't argue with it.
Yeah.
It really does feel very interior, very, and we'll create our little.
I'm like,
Neutral
if
circle.
I was having that K, I'd be doing that too. And I wouldn't feel bad that I was leaving Josh all alone.
All alone. All alone.
That's not for your ears.
And I honestly don't know if I'll pick it back up. I like when the next one starts, or
Probably in the fall.
okay,
Yeah,
I don't
All
know.
alone with Peter.
And Anna Maria
That
and
wasn't better,
Stephanie.
was it?
So does that answer your question? Though?
Yeah. And you guys are planning?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be
Okay.
sending that payment soon.
Then there was one extra person who was planning, who was thinking, who was on the fence, and then when I heard her for reasons saying no for right now, it made sense to me as well. I have to share, not only is her business booming, which is awesome, because she came in quite stuck, but she's been marijuana free for 60 days.
Oh, wow.
With which she's had basically an addiction her whole adult life as a mom. So that actually makes me happier than the business. But again, the ending an addiction thing, that's why I said it, is I just feel like it's so wrapped up with these level leaps that people make. Anyway, she was thinking about joining. She's decided not to, but she's almost certainly going to join us in the fall. She's terrific. She's an acupuncturist.
Awesome.
So you'll just keep me posted. And
Oh yeah.
I'll probably stay on try and get to the monthly calls when I can.
And I don't see any problem keeping you on the. Anyone have any complaint about keeping Beth on the advanced Facebook group?
Not
course
like
Yeah.
alumni and all of
Yeah,
that.
Once you're on there, you're permanently on, unless you like have a psychotic break and
Oh.
start writing crazy things.
Well, it depends on the crazy things.
Even then, you will still belong even when you're removed from the Facebook. Personal safety.
No. Facebook is now our new criteria for belonging in the world, right? Oh God. Okay.
Well, we'll
So-
miss you, trader.
You know it's love when you can say stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I said, we will create our own little
Okay.
nurture huddle.
This is terrible. This is I looked a few
time?
minutes ago and it was a half hour ago.
Wow.
So it's 3:40. So I want to
Wow.
leap into these final constellations.
Jesus, that happened fast.
Yeah, it was like 3:15 last time I looked. Actually sit down for a second because I've got to describe it to you again. So this is one you've done before, but you might not remember, and there's one novelty. So you're going to set up 2 timelines,
Oh, yeah.
one for you and one for your business. So you can put heart of business if you like. This is January 12th. That's when we started. Right here is January 12th.
Are we going from right to left?
You're probably going to be going forward.
But I mean in this drawing.
In this drawing, yes, we're
Yes,
going to start
okay.
to go in this drawing. The future.
What does the bottom line say? Oh, you.
You. And then this is now. Okay. This is you kind of, I'm calling it early fall. So this is kind of small chunk next manifestation of your business desired state. Okay. Here is a larger chunk. You don't have to define the time, but it's something you know you want that's further out than early fall. So it could be, making $100,000 a year. It could be, you could gauge it a different way.
Okay.
But this is a known DS, kind of big chunk DS. It's definitely, early fall would blow out your ecology if you were to want it for early fall. Right? And then this is, your classic DS plus, 2 or so, which is currently unknown. This is what we did the CHP for. This is unknown on the current map, or not articulatable from the current map.
No.
Okay? That makes sense? So I'm going to leave you kind of on your own with this, what you're going to do. It was fun to watch other people decide how they wanted to do it, like go straight through and then straight through, or do one and then this one and then this one and this one, this and this one, or they jumped around a little bit. However you want to do it for a little bit. The only thing that I do ask you to do is a couple of things. One is when you're on this end, on both of these, look back and notice you don't judge past yous. Remember that reframe, right? And please bring that back to now or whenever, just so you can feel the respect of your future self. And then specifically, this is kind of like the experience chain. When you have a good K out here, grab a finger, step off, bring it back, and walk through it again.
At any one of those future points, or at the very end?
At the very end.
At the very end.
I mean, or
Okay.
the best K, but presumably DS+2 is going to be the best K. We do hope. Oh, Frank's back.
Frankenberg.
And bring it back to now.
Yeah, so grab a finger, bring it back, well, no, bring it all the way back to
To-
January 12th. Bring it back to
Okay.
the very beginning of the line and walk through with that anchor. So all of the stages have the benefit of that good K. Right? Then we're going to do one other thing, but I'll tell you then.
Okay.
So set that up for yourselves.
Do we need little thingies?
Yes.
10 cards.
Yeah, and you, oops, that's Mother's Lost Love. I don't know what that is. Some client something or other. Oh, that was a cool one that we did recently. That was really interesting. It's a little bit like the anxiety thing. A woman who had an obsession with a boyfriend she met when she was 14 that she still wasn't over. And what was the projection going on? That was really interesting. So you don't need to write anything on these. Just put down 5 cards.
I just have to share while we're doing this. I just read a paper I wrote when I was 17 for a senior high school
Isn't
project
that fun?
about myself. It was an autobiography. It was amazing. And then my parents wrote, and it made me cry to read in a nice way, to read what my mother wrote about my birth. I'd never heard
How many do you need?
10,
And I
right?
need 10?
Oh, that's right, 10.
I figured I could just rip it in half.
Or, yeah, let me give you a nice scissor so that I can reuse
Scissors?
them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll cut these in half and I'll save some. It was quite
Nice scissors.
Yeah, if you rip them, then I kind of can't use them again, not really.
Rip's not good enough for your future clients? Wow, that was like the most symmetrical cut I think I've ever done. Blind. Good work, Peter.
Okay, so set that up and kind of do it on your own for a little bit.
Can I move the mic over?
Yeah, just move that aside somewhere. And don't bounce into that flower too much.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Hey, flower. It's funny you mentioned something about plants taking over and the
Day of the Triffids.
was that actually with like houseplants, like that movie, that particular?
I don't know. No, actually, I think that they were supposed to have come out of the meteorites and they were
Okay.
completely alien plants
Because there
that grew and walked and
was
ate
this,
people.
okay, there was this old book that I read a long time
Shot
ago
cars too, of course.
that had like this society that believed that these plants were all part of one hive mind plant, and so they hang tinsel on them to block their EMF transmitting capabilities.
Okay.
That's what popped into my head.
Okay.
Or just to notice what we notice.
Just notice what you notice, and mostly, I mean, the goal of this is what? Self-rapport over time. And to also, you know, it's a little bit like an experience chain, is to chain up moving from, you know, into your future.
Last time
You can use it as information gathering as well. You may get information in some of these spots, but it's not the main purpose of it. So you have, is everyone okay at 5 or 10 minutes late?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Beth?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's January 12th? Is that-
Yeah, because that's when we started.
Oh, wow.
That's all I mean, is the beginning of this program.
And early fall would be what?
Labor Day? Or Columbus Day?
Which or when?
Oh, I'm sorry, middle of September?
Okay, cool.
Early, end of September?
September, October. And are we choosing first DS?
Yeah, so the big chunk DS, the card number 4,
That's something we actually
that's something like
consciously
$100,000 income in a year, or something that early fall.
So maybe
is too
like
soon
by
for.
the end of the year, early next
You don't
year.
even need to put a date on this
Oh,
unless
okay.
you really have an
Okay.
attachment
It's just
to a
further
specific
out.
date. Yeah.
Okay.
But within, we're not talking you finally get there when you're 90, right? Within a reasonable time frame. Or it could be, I'm self-supporting
Got
in
it.
my business,
I know what I
or,
want.
do ask me for any help if you get stuck, or you want to have 2 representatives on 2 cards at one time. So at this moment, I'm going to set my timer for 5 minutes and see if that's enough time. If it isn't, I'll add more.
What's the final?
An unknown DS plus 2, something you can't currently articulate from your current map of your life. But it's something you really want, but you just don't know what it is. You can move that box if you need to. make sure you include bringing the good DS feeling to the beginning.
I think I'm done.
Okay, so
I anchored, I went back.
okay, so hang out because we've got
Oh,
a
that's
part B, but we all need to do it together. Good, thank you. So you guys start to wrap up?
That's interesting.
You guys about done on yours? Okay. Okay. You all set, Peter?
Mhm.
Okay, so this next bit has to be done very respectfully, but everyone get a K for blessing others. However you like to call that, blessing other people. And if you need to do a little erase on your own stuff. Huh? Because now, this is really important, you've got to do this really respectfully. You're gonna walk the other two people's lines with this K. So if you need to find an anchor for it or something,
Yeah.
both lines don't take too long doing this. Just kind of walk fairly casually, not like run
Which
through it,
was your now?
but fairly casually.
This
Past.
is me. That's my business.
You and your business, and which one's past and future?
Past and future.
So you go
Yours.
over to maybe
Which is
to
your
Joshua's. You guys can't switch because we need all three of you.
Right.
is your
So
now?
if you go, wait, am I supposed to go over here?
No, I don't care, but you just can't switch each
I know, I
other's.
just need to know the information before I get to it. Which
Got
is-
it,
which
okay.
is third.
Heart of. We're gonna have to check in each time. So who's gonna do mine right now? Okay. So this is heart of business on the right, me on the left, past, future.
This
And
is-
then
Me, business, past, future.
And Beth, you can tell
Business,
Peter
yeah.
which is which on yours.
So Peter, by the front door
Mhm.
is heart of business, and the other one is me, and it's again past to future.
So heart of
Excellent.
business, you.
Okay.
Trapped.
Is there a particular way you want us to walk these, or can I walk in the middle? Or walk on?
Do one each.
What do you-
Yeah. And then if you want to do a quick third one down the middle, that's fine too. And again, don't take too long doing this because you're going to do it for both of the other people. And then one more thing at the end. And then when everyone's done, just briefly, I just want to hear that was okay? That was okay?
That was
Okay, now do the third persons.
All right, Beth, how does yours go?
So by the front door is Heart of Business from Past to Future, and the other is you, me, from Past to Future.
And this end is past.
Peter, how's yours set up?
Closer to the kitchen
This
is
is
Beth.
me. This is my business. Past, future.
Do you remember mine, Peter?
You business, past, future.
Business is on the right.
Shit. Okay. Business.
Not that it matters too much,
Yeah,
really.
I'm just
It's-
blessing it all anyway.
Yeah. Nothing will go wrong if you're not sure which is which. And then when And then when everyone is done, you're going to go back to your own. And just now, without anchoring anything in, just feel what your lines feel like now that you've received your good friends and colleagues' blessings.
So walk them.
Yeah, just walk both sides again, or however you like to do it, but just feel it. How it feels being on the receiving end of that. Just imagine someone's got their hand on your forehead. And when it feels done to you, you pick up the cards and find your seat again. Sure, yeah, that'd be great, thank you. Okay.
That's a nice addition. The bus sign is really.
So, we're done. I think we're basically right at 4 or a couple minutes over, 4:04. So let's just report in a little bit. What was that like? And how, anything you want to say before we leave today?
Well, I found that I had to walk me a few times before I could really step into it. And it was actually once I got that better K in the DS and walked back that I could really feel me more in the representatives, and got to the point where the DS was like really cool and like a lot of fun.
You mean this one, the unknown one?
No, the one before.
The one
it,
that you've.
the big chunk.
Yeah.
The one past it like always feels like this kind of huge and big and unknowable. Like that's kind of how I cue it up. And then when I watched my business, it didn't get very strong Ks until I got to like early fall. And then it started to feel like kind of like whoa, and then whoa. And then again at the unknown was kind of like big and expansive. But when I walked them blessed, when I walked me, I got really honored and emotionally touched. And when I walked my business, it again wasn't as like emotional. It was more like kind of like so it was interesting. I'm gonna miss you. Just to throw that in there. So, and we'll stay in touch. And I'm still gonna miss you in this space. So, and thank you, Leslie, for all this. Yeah, for sure.
I think that, just hearing you report what it was like to go through the line blessed, is it gives it some weight. It's not just us in our own personal pastime, or this business I want to create, my thing, this thing, I self-actualize, I get to have a business. That's all true and that's all wonderful. But there's some other element here of actually other people. It matters to others whether we figure it out and make it happen.
I also had to readjust early fall from Labor Day, which is me at Burning Man, to 1 week after Burning Man. Because when I checked in at Burning Man, I was like kind of out of my mind. And when I came a week later, it was like much better.
Well, and technically fall isn't until September 22nd or so. So, nice. Thank you. Someone else.
I didn't have super strong Ks like I remember having the very first time we did this, but it was lovely. I felt like I was just feeling. I wasn't thinking or analyzing or pulling like data. I was really just feeling it. And when I stepped into early fall, I was stepping into a place where, hooray, I'm going to Europe, So it's this really sweet feeling. And for the DS+2, I picked hitting 6 figures kind of randomly, but I felt that out. I was like, that to me represents a big milestone in my business, and I don't know when that will happen. So it was just interesting too to sort of have a little conversation with myself about what is that big chunk that still feels so far away. And how do I represent it in a way that feels real and not just what everybody else is saying? It's
$1 million.
Right. It's like I'm not 100% sure. And then the DS+2, I kind of got an inkling because I'm ambitious, but I'm like, what is there beyond what I already envisioned for myself? I'm like, I have no idea, but that could be, and it's felt wonderful. And then just playing with reintegrating the anchor was a really lovely experience. Taking the anchor from the end and coming back and walking both lines, it was like bringing it more into the body. I felt like, and then experiencing it after you both have walked it, I
just felt I felt like I was actually releasing some energy. I started to have a headache, which to me is like, it's just like a release, you know,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, I'm being held now. So some of the aches and pains can start to feel
Yeah.
and go, oh, okay, I can just kind of rest. I almost felt like I was being almost carried a little bit by the angels.
Oh, nice.
Of everyone's support.
Nice.
Little gay angels.
Before you reported, Josh, what you're reminding me of is when I did my experience chain in Masters. I had one of those classic nonlinear versions where PS sucked, PS +1 was worse, PS +2 was even worse, which in hindsight is kind of how it was, how it worked out. And then finally it was at PS +3 where something started to feel better. And it took me a long time to articulate it. I was actually the demo. And it finally was, this is not a place I got here on my own. Someone carried me here. And I don't even know what that means exactly, but you just reminded me of that a little bit.
Well, it's that feeling of, I don't know, the word grace comes to me,
Yeah.
and you're more of a theologian than that. I don't know what
No.
exactly that is, but
Yeah.
it is the sense like by dint of being in the community, we are now here.
Yeah.
At this place in our lives.
And one of the dangers of being in business is learning that by applying effort to everything, we can make everything better. Which is, applying effort to things is good. I mean, there's a wonderful aspect to effort, and it could make us more self-reliant in a way that, again, has a good side and it has a darker side. So the sense of being carried by something or supported by something is really, really important. The both and of that. It's nice.
So walking the me line had a lot of feelings that I've been having when I've been doing this exercise that our shaman gave us. What would it feel like to experience, you fill in the blank? And I've been doing more than enough work to take care of me and all of my needs. And those are the same Ks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was like, wow,
That's cool.
Interesting.
Right.
And when we walked after the blessing, it just brought in such humility and also like connection to others. Like walking the me line before was very like just my own experience, but walking it after that, it was unavoidably an experience that had a context that included others. Does that make sense?
Yep.
The heart of business was interesting after the blessing because so before it's interesting because it started out with almost like this feeling of like heart closed and then heart open and then heart not closed down but like reorganization happening and then to like even more openness. When I walked after the blessing, I got these metaphors of like chrysalis, butterfly drying its wings, flying around to like almost becoming color itself to being that radiating sun from the constellation. So that was really neat too.
Wow, awesome.
And then I cried.
When we feel the blessings of the divine, it really makes a big difference. And of course, we are one of the faces of the divine is each other. In Christianity, blessing is essentially naming something as good. That's it. It's not like magic hands. It's not like now it's holy, it wasn't before, that kind of thing. It's like, well, this is holy. Let's be official about it. Bread and wine is always holy. Let's just be a little official about it right now. Well, this has been a pleasure. Boy, I've learned a whole bunch.
I'd love to
And,
hear what you've learned.
oh God, I'm not sure my brain could produce that right now.
Later.
Yeah.
Look
But-
forward.
I mean, I feel like this is, whatever it is I'm creating here, it's new, it's mine, and it's a genuine innovation, and it really makes a difference.
Mhm.
I feel like it's taking all this NLP Marin stuff, because that's the foundation. You can feel that there. It's not like you can't feel that DNA there, but it takes it into a slightly different space. It's like when you said the word humility, I went, that's not a word we ever hear in personal growth programs,
Hmm.
ever. How come? What's that about? Walking a line after someone else has blessed it. Something about the resiliency, something about not having to crash so much, something about titrating it down, something about all that for me is really, really, really important is the new, it's kind of the new creation.
It's gentle and well held, intentional, and mindful. Like there's a presence, the well-being of the participants can include like NLP Marin. Like part of the thing is you have to kind of go through hell to get the learning. Like that's like actually written into the structure.
Yeah, all pain all the time.
All all the time.
Ha 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 ha. I
And-
stopped laughing at that after a while.
and while I feel like it is important to be able to develop
Right.
that, that's not necessarily what you bring in here. It just feels well supported.
Yeah.
And well held.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate the divinity piece you bring in.
Yeah.
It comes from your own background and the Sufi work you've been doing, and knowing, I feel like those cultures also hold what you're doing and allow and inform it and allow at least a big invitation for me to reintroduce those elements into my own work.
Yeah, the spiritual business piece is very, very important.
Yeah. For me, it was the learning Sufi remembrance has kind of been the key piece that got me unstuck. So anyway, so there's something going on. Don't know exactly where it's going. I'm not entirely certain that I'm going to keep doing business coaching for more than a couple more years. I don't know exactly what the context of this is exactly, but
This may be the way that you
figured it out. Yeah.
for yourself, right? Like
Taking notes and keep reporting on it
Yeah.
from how you've been doing, because it's wonderful to have around.
Yeah. Yeah. And if right now you guys were to vote, you can help me on the constellations for programs
Okay.
or the rapport with alternative selves over time and across time.
The rapport one.
Oh,
Oh,
other one.
I want the
Okay.
one.
Breaker.
Yeah, you're the tiebreaker,
Oh,
Peter. I'm having a terrible time discerning
Why
this.
can't you write them both and submit them both?
I could, but that leaves them choosing, and I'd prefer to choose. I'm actually already going to be doing two, because James and I are going to do something together on
Okay.
facilitator stance.
I kind of feel like
So,
the constellations for programs see the opportunity to do the most impact. Like you could actually include, for example,
Yeah.
rapport with selves over time is something that we develop for people with this.
yeah.
I mean, that one to me feels like it has the biggest reach
Because that one's for other
for
facilitators.
other people to be able to chunk down
Yeah.
to use it in the different ways that they
Yeah.
like you
Because
use it.
this is core curriculum in terms of rapport with selves over time.
Yeah,
This-
it is. Yeah,
is-
it really is.
Yeah, you put it in
It
that-
is.
that
It's
program.
true. It's true.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. I'm still indecisive, sorry.
Okay.
You didn't fix it.
Did you expect us to fix it for you?
You're still getting my bill.
Noted, Peter, noted.
I have a Heart of Business coaching call tomorrow, a group call, and I hope I get time tomorrow, because I have asked for that to be
Yeah.
my coaching. Because the remembrance applied to discernment is really powerful.
Okay.
And Peter, you and I are going to chat very briefly.
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll definitely talk on
Yeah,
Monday, and then
for
we'll
sure.
try and include Josh.
See if we can get Josh in there.
Are you gonna check now, or do you need to do an email?
I can check now. I just have to see when I'm flying.
I have a prospect calling in a few minutes, and
We'll go to the Rose Garden. Rose Garden's starting to peak.
yeah. So I can
You guys
just,
should check out the Rose Garden before you go home.
Oh, okay. Where
I'll
is
go
it?
there. It's
It's
just
2 blocks. You go 1 block that way. This is easier because
way?
it, 1 block that way and then 1 block that way.
Okay.
Okay.
And then you'll see an entrance right at the bottom. It's peaking. It's really,
Uh,
it's a little hallucinatory. It's pretty crazy.
3 o'clock next Monday. I can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we do like a Google Hangout?
Yep.
Okay. I'll